Okay, I'm going to remove this one out of there. Okay, we are going live. So we'll give it a minute here because it takes a minute to like populate on. Right now it's going live on Facebook. It's going live on my personal Facebook, on the Snowbike Nation group, the Snowbike Nation page, and YouTube. So people will be jumping in from wherever they are. So yeah, so as you guys, I see people are starting to pop on. Guys, as you're popping on now, everybody's popping on now. Leave a quick comment there. Tell us where you're from, and we'll see your guys' names there. But yeah, just tell us where you're from. And yep, I see the thumbs up coming. Sweet. Everybody can hear us, it looks like. So yeah, just here, I'll give a little comment right here. There we go. Okay, so people should start to see it pop up there. Nelson, BC, Canada. David, what's your last name? Mickle? Is it just MCL? Oh, look, Orion jumped on too, so we'll get him on here. Sweet. So yeah, Orion, you just hang tight, dude, and you can just, we can't hear you or anything, just so you know, until I add you to the stage. So you're good to go. You can pick your nose and do whatever, bro. There you go. See, I could see you, but nobody else could see you. So we got Jared. Yeah, Jared's on from Wasilla. Jared's had the BRC 500. Matt Hophius. I'm probably messing it up. Sorry, but David, is it Mickle or is that just not your whole name? Oh, MCL. McLaren. He said it's McLaren. There we go. David McLaren. Got it. Dylan Stewart from Cedar City. Bro, that's where my parents live. They lived there for like 20 something years. Maybe you know my parents, Jerry and Denise Allred, but they live here now in Montana with me. And it looks like, look at that. He 3 years on a Timber Sled 120, just got a CMX 129 this season. Boom. There we go. Dylan, leave a quick comment. Have you ridden a CMX yet, or are you like totally brand new, man? Oh, look who else has joined us. Alan Mangum. Alan, what's up, buddy? From hey, you know who. That's great. We got Alan on here. That's awesome. I know one of these days, Mark, I'm going to get you and Al. We're all going to get in the same one here. We're going to have a big freaking shindig, dude. Jeff Bateman, Grand Prairie. Dylan Stewart. Dylan, he has a CR. Oh, shit. He's got a CR 500 and a CMX 129. Dude, he's going to be crushing it. I can't wait to see this. Hey, Dylan, I think you can post some pictures on here. If you can, post them on the discussion. I want to see this thing, dude. CR 500. Aaron's the CMX team. That's right. I've had a couple conversations with Aaron, Curtis Kennedy, and let's see, Dale from Olympia. Dude, we're getting a friggin' full crew here. Holy cow. A lot of people are jumping on. So we'll just give it another couple minutes. But yeah, thanks guys as you're joining in. I'm super pumped again. We're doing this one here with Mark and team. We got Mark, Cameron, and Ferg. And then we're going to be doing one with the other manufacturers as well over the next couple of weeks. So stay tuned to that. John. I know John. He's in Frankfurt, Germany. Damn. Oh, so you're joining us from Frankfurt. That's pretty badass, dude. Who's this? Matt. I got to see this, bro. He's got a BRC 500 too. Oh, man. This is going to be the year of 500s, dude.
We're going to build Matt's kit for him here within the next few weeks.
I can't wait to see that. Mike Steffens from Klamath. Dude, we're getting a lot of people. All right, well, we got 30-something people. Oh, Tessa. What's up, Tessa? Tessa's a freaking animal on a freaking snow bike, and she's like 5 foot nothing. How tall are you, Tessa? You're like 5'1", and she just gets after it. So that's Shannon Mason's wife. You guys know Shannon, Aussie snowbiker. So Tessa gets after it as well. She's a beast on a snow bike. In a good way, Tessa. You're a beast on a snow bike. JR. Oh, yeah, JR. I know JR. Hell yeah. He came and rode with us. Look. Tessa is 5'2". Love it. Hell yeah. That's awesome. Good stuff. Well, guys, this is great. We got a really good looking, a lot of people on here. So this is fun. We're going to get rolling here. So welcome again. This is obviously Kyle Allred from Snowbike Nation. I'm followed here by Mark Hoffman from CMX Crazy Mountain Xtreme with his son Cameron. And we just know the other guy by Ferg. It's just Ferg. Ferguson, right?
No, just Fergus.
Yep. No, just Fergus. Okay. Yep. Thought maybe that was the full name, Ferg.
He's not a tractor.
Yeah.
Nice. Well, I know everybody that is on here and myself and everybody, we're all just jonesing right now for snowbiking. I always joke with people, here up in Montana where I'm at. Snowbike season's done and everybody's gearing up for dirt biking and people are swapping their kits out, and I'm like, dude, I'm still snowbiking till I can't snowbike. Like, you're missing a solid month and a half up here if you start taking your kit off and putting wheels on in May. So as soon as snowbike season's done, May, usually by July I'm ready for snowbiking again. So there's about a month. I'm like, cool, we got some summertime now, let's go snowbiking again. So yes, I love this stuff. So thanks everybody for your support and joining. We couldn't do this without you guys. And also stay tuned again. We're going to be doing the giveaway. In fact, guys, while you're on the website or while you're on this right now, go to the website, snowbikenation.com. And if you're watching this later after the giveaway, sorry, too bad, but still go put your name on there. So on my website, you can just put your email in there. That will enter you into the giveaway that we're going to do. We're going to be riding up in Canada in November. It's either going to be before Thanksgiving or I think we're going to do it after Thanksgiving. So it'll probably be the first week in December. We're going to go up there. We're going to ride again with our crew, Matt Cox, Shannon Mason, and, maybe Tesla will be there. Whoever wants to come, essentially our Canadian crew, we're gonna do a big ride. And so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna give away 2 slots. So it'll be you and a buddy essentially, where you just get to Kalispell and hop in the truck with me and just get up here with your gear ready to go, and everything else is provided. Lodging. You do have to share a bed with me, unfortunately. Sorry, like I can't afford 2 beds. So no, I'm just kidding. So you guys, we're gonna go up there. We're gonna stay up in the Golden area, and we're gonna do some fun shit. So stay tuned for that. I'm really pumped. Let's see. We've done this now 2 years, 3 years, and we would have did more, but obviously COVID kind of threw a wrench in it. But it's a lot of fun. It's kind of early season riding. But up in Canada, for those of you who don't know, it's only an hour from where I'm at in Kalispell, Montana, the border. Well, dude, by December 1st, sometimes they're riding in like 6+ feet of snow. So like they get a lot of snow early. Here in Kalispell, sometimes we're sitting at about 4 feet sometimes by December 1st. So it just depends, but that's going to be a lot of fun. So make sure you go on the website, enter your info there if you want to do the giveaway. So let's get rolling here. So guys, super pumped. Thanks again for joining, Mark, Cam, Ferg. Let's get into CMX. So I'll just kind of give a brief background. CMX. So I've been snowbiking now since when did I get started? 2017. And I remember seeing some CMX kits here and there, but I didn't really know anything about them. I didn't ride with anybody that had one. I just didn't really see them a whole lot, right? Even though they're freaking in Montana, Clyde Park, Montana is 7-8 hours from me. And so I kept seeing them. I was like, what is this? What is this kit? And I thought they looked really cool, and they just looked like they just looked bulletproof, right? All anodized aluminum, just super badass looking. And so I was like, all right, I want to ride one of these. And I just never got the chance. And so of course, I think I'd reach out to Mark. We got to talking, I'm seeing posts online, but it was still very much, I would say, like kind of in the minority, right? There wasn't a lot of people that I knew riding CMX kits. And I think just not for any other reason other than, Mark started doing his thing with snowbikes in 2016, 2017. Was it 2017 or 2016?
2015. Or
2015. But was that with the first production one came out?
Our first year of production was fall of 15. So
Okay.
15 season.
Okay, cool. Yep. So it was still kind of just getting rolling. But for those of you who don't know, Mark is like, he's a freaking OG in the snow scene. Like he's been making custom snowmobiles since probably before some of you were born, right? So I mean, like he's been doing this a while. And for those of you who haven't seen it, or if you don't remember, the interview I did with Alan last year, Alan talked about, you know, as a kid, Alan's a little bit older than me. I'm 41. He talked about as a kid seeing these badass CMX snowmobiles, you know, these custom sleds being built. And he talks about it inspiring him to actually, you know, want to build custom snowmobiles. So that's pretty cool, right? To think that like Alan, you know, it was inspired by the man we're about to talk to, Mark Hoffman. And so then Mark Hoffman, and he'll tell the whole story here, transitioned into making, you know, from snowmobiles, these custom badass snowmobiles, you know, first belt drive to snowbikes and to where we're at today. So I had the opportunity to work with Mark last year and had one of his kits on my bike. And all I can say is I was like just completely blown away. And like the hype was real because you would see that, you know, we kind of joked, but we called it like the CMX cult, right? And like after I started riding one, I was like, well, I get it. I'm like, these are freaking bomb proof, man, and these are a lot of fun. I put, like I said, 170 hours, and I'm going to show you guys the kit as well. And I didn't have one issue, and that's not like, I'm not like stretching the truth. Like legitimately, guys, I adjusted the chain, I think after the second ride, and I checked it all the time. I never once had to adjust it again. The belt actually, funny enough, I never even actually had to adjust it. I remember I checked it after the first couple rides, and Mark even said, he's like, yeah, you might not even need to adjust it. And I was like, for real? Like never.
No
He
way.
was not kidding, man. Like I would check that thing and it was just right where it needed to be. I would like loosen it even. I'm like, is it still good? Like, all right, everything's solid. And it was bomb proof, and it's a very fun kit. It's very nimble. It's very different and unique. And I'll show you guys in this video as well, because Mark's kit sits further underneath the motorcycle than any other snow bike kit out there. So what that translates to is a very fun dirt bike like feel. And I will say, being a guy who rides dirt bikes a lot, and I absolutely love dirt biking, not as much as snow biking, but I do love it, right? It's number two. It has that same just feel and that light front end feeling. So anyhow, I could sit here and, you know, kind of go on, but I want to kind of turn the table over here to Mark for the next little bit. And Mark, if you can give us the synopsis of real quick, just where you're from, you know, where you kind of grew up and how you got into snowmobiles and then making the custom snowmobiles before we get into the actual snow bikes, because this story is cool. And by the way, guys, Mark and I last year sat down and we did a full, you know, interview. So there's going to be more coming on all that. But on this interview here, I really want you guys to hear Mark's story. And if you guys have questions, please just like write them down separately, you know, keep them on a notepad so that when we get to that question section, you guys can all post them. But if you guys have questions specifically to Mark's story as he's going through this, feel free to post them in here, because I can highlight them and then I can save them for later. So if you guys have questions about Mark's story and whatnot, feel free to do that. So Mark, I'll shut up. Go ahead, dude. I want to turn the time over to you. Thanks again. And yeah, dude. So Mark, where are you from, man? Where were you born and raised?
Well, hey, Kyle, thanks for having us on this evening. It's a wonderful opportunity, and we're glad to have that and be a part of it. But I grew up in small town Montana. Spent most of my life here in Clyde Park, it's a town of about 300 people. And when I got out of high school, I went into the Air Force for 4 years and worked as a aircraft mechanic. I worked on B-52s.
Where is Clyde Park? Just so people understand, because most people are like, where the hell's Clyde Park? And what's outside your window there at Clyde Park?
Right. We're in South Central Montana. We're about 45 miles from Bozeman. And Kyle is referring to the crazy mountains, which are right out our back door. And we can be to our riding area in about 15 minutes. And we also have the Bridgers off to our west. And that's a really fun riding area. We've done a lot of testing and tuning in the Bridgers over the years as well. It's usually ready to ride a little before the Crazies for whatever reason. I think the rocks are bigger in the Crazies, but
yeah, what's the deal with the Crazies? Why does it have the name the Crazies?
So it's an island mountain range. It's not attached to any other range, but
it's really wild. It's really wild, guys. You're driving out there and I'm like, where the hell? Like, we're out in the, like, there's nothing. And then all of a sudden just boom, massive mountain range, dude.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, the story goes that back in the Old West, there was a wagon with a family in it that was moving out west, and they got surrounded by Indians, and this lady watched the Indians kill her entire family, kids and everybody. And so she went crazy and she killed those Indians. She killed the Indian.
This is a legit story, right? This really happened.
I mean,
that's the story.
Yeah. Take it for what it's worth.
Okay,
it's my story, and I'll tell it however I want.
Got it.
But anyhow, so she went into the mountains and lived her life out up there, and nobody went near her because she was crazy. So that's the story. So that's supposedly how the Crazy Mountains got their name.
Well, there is a Crazy Woman Ridge up there too.
There is. I forgot about that. Yeah, thank you.
It's called Crazy Woman Ridge.
Yeah.
That's funny, dude. Crazy Woman
So who
Ridge.
knows? Maybe she lived there. But then after I got out of the Air Force, I went to Votech school and learned to be a machinist and a welder. And
so why that? Why did you decide to choose that like path?
Oh, I've always loved to build things, and so machining and welding goes right along with that. And machining is precision and so on. So that's what had my interest there. And I worked when I was a little kid, I worked with an old blacksmith here in town, and he was just an absolute character. He was a genius, but he was also a hermit. Yeah. I mean, he was dirty. He showered once a year, whether he needed it or not. Probably never showered. Probably bathed in some kind of tub. But anyhow,
he wasn't married. I take it.
Well, yeah, he was at one time, but not when I.
Yeah, that makes sense.
His kids were all grown and gone, and yeah. But at any rate, so I spent a lot of time with his blacksmith operation and running the hand crank on the forge and that kind of stuff. So I learned some from him, but not much because all of his equipment was so old and cobbled together and stuff, And then after Votech school and stuff, I worked in Billings for a year as a machinist, and we kept coming home to Clyde Park for recreation on the weekends. And so my wife and I, we decided we had to figure out a way to make a living in Clyde Park. And so
there's not a lot going on in Clyde Park. For those of you who have never been there, it still feels like you're in some old Western town from way back.
It definitely is a small town, Kyle, for sure. So we opened Hoffman's Machine Welding and Repair back in 1981, and I had a set of wrenches and bought a welder and a torch and bought a lathe the following year. And so that's how that all began. And 91, like you said, Kyle, that was the year Cameron was born. And so he's 32 now. And so that's the year we started building snowmobiles was
right when Cameron was born.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It was a great time. I think he got
this is all you ever know, Cam. That's it.
Yeah, I don't know anything else, Kyle.
It's like in your DNA and your brain, bro.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
But anyhow, yeah, that's how it all evolved, and we did really well building high-end custom snowmobiles. A lot of people said they were the Ferrari of the snowmobile, but they not only had the looks, they had the performance as well.
I was gonna show a couple of the pictures here of the snowmobiles. So and Mark, can you expound real quick on for a lot of people that are new into this whole industry and new into the scene, especially people that don't know the snowmobile background, we're at this place in snowbiking because of snowmobiles. And so guys, these mountain sleds didn't always exist. Guys like Mark, Brett Rasmussen and other OGs that, these guys are now in their 60s. They are the ones that like help push the sport. So talk to us, Mark, about like custom snowmobiles. Why did you have to make these? I mean, what was the whole premise of doing this?
Great question, Kyle. By the way, that picture with the sled is in the Crazy Mountains.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So that was our terrain. So the reason that we had to start building the snowmobiles is because the manufacturers were ignoring the mountain market segment. And so we would go to shows and we would listen to the representatives saying, oh yeah, we might do that next year, but for now you can buy a long track and put it on your trail sled that's too wide and too heavy and a lot of steel. I mean, there was no technology.
Yeah.
Snowmobiles at the time. It was sad to say the least. So
I remember Brett Rasmussen. I was talking to him about this, a couple of years ago, actually, because he was a Skidoo. What was he? I think he was Arctic Cat. Yeah, Arctic Cat. And he talked about, that was one of the main reasons why he left there. He was like, they didn't listen. They didn't, like, we were trying to tell them, listen, the market wants this. And if you guys aren't going to make it, somebody's going to make it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And fast forward to today, and the major manufacturers are building incredible snowmobiles. Not that I'd want to ride one, but
Well, I still want to ride one just because it looks fun, but I could never give up snowbiking.
We do still have a handful of CMX sleds around too, but I would rather ride my snowbike any day of the week. So
agreed.
And I hear the guys say, oh, well, I like to ride my sled on the deep days. Well, I like to ride my snowbike and ride around and help the guys on sleds get unstuck. Literally.
I love those days when you see them getting stuck, and I always will come up, especially like when they're stuck on a hill and you're like side hill over to them and stop by me like, you guys need a hand? And they kind of look at you like, no, I'm good. But they're like, you guys suck, man. And I'm like, yeah, these things are pretty nimble, huh? And they're like, yeah, they are. And then you just freaking drop away and like,
yeah. Right. Sometimes they get it, and those are the converts, the ones that come over to the bike side. So, yeah.
So anyway, so you start building these because at the time there was nothing. Mountain sleds did not exist, right?
Correct. Yeah.
So then guys like yourself are like, well, we're gonna freaking make them then.
Well, we started building sleds for our own use. We never dreamt it was going to be a business. Okay. Cause I was in the repair business and we were doing fine. We were busy and things were good, but my buddy and I, we wanted something better than what the factories had to offer. So we started building our own sleds, and what happened was, we wrote a little article in a Mod Stock magazine. It was like a newspaper publication back in those days. It wasn't even a full-blown glossy. And
this is a snowmobile like paper.
Yeah, by Snow West, actually. Snow West.
Okay.
At any rate, this gentleman from Helena sees the article, and he calls up and he goes, "Hey, I saw your sleds. I want one of those." And I just started laughing. I go, "You can't afford it." He goes, "Well, what do you mean?" And I always shoot from the hip, and I'm doing some quick math in my head. And at the time, you could buy a factory sled for $3,000 to $4,000.
What year is this?
Oh, that would have been 92, 91, 92, right in that area.
I was like 9, 10.
Yeah. At any rate, I shot him a number. I go, it's gonna be over 12,000. And he goes, all right, I want one. And so it totally blew me away. I didn't know now what do we do, right?
Yeah, you're like, shit, I got to build this now.
yeah, now we got to build some snowmobiles for people. Well, then this gentleman in Japan from the Crazy Fox Snowmobile Club saw the article and he wanted one.
From
And
Japan?
So, yeah, we sold one of our very first ones. Yeah, very first ones went to Japan back in
That's
the day.
wild, dude. Do you have a picture of that? I would love to see that.
Here's the cool part about it. You know, there was no such thing as email and computers and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Fax machines.
Fax. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So this dude in Japan, this Japanese guy is like, hey, I want a sled. And like you make this custom sled for some dude in Japan.
Well, yeah. Funny thing is he didn't speak any English, but he had a sister that taught school in California. And so she was the translator. And so I would get these faxes that would come through and it would be like backwards. It would, you know, the words would be not the way they would be normally in a sentence. So you had to interpret it. Oh, okay. That's what he means when he's saying this, and this, you know. But yeah, we got it all done. I think he ended up getting 2 or 3. Yeah, I think he ended up getting 3 from us.
Dude, I can only imagine. I wish I could have been in Japan, and these freaking dudes, these Japanese guys are like, what the hell is freaking, I don't know, a Japanese name, whatever. Yoshima. What was his name? What was his name?
Akinobu Kitano. And I might not be pronouncing it right.
Yeah, Akinobu. So old Akinobu's like, yeah, check this badass sled out from freaking these guys in Montana, which they probably don't even know where the hell Montana is. Right. That's awesome. We got to find Okinabu. We got to find this guy. I want to talk to him. Anyways, all right. I'm getting off track.
Well, you know, Kyle, who knows if he's still alive, right?
Oh, that's epic, bro. I love that. Okay. So you build the sled for the second sled you build is some dude in Japan. So what did that cost him?
I don't remember if that was 12.5 or 17.5 or, you know, we progressed over the years. The prices increased. The most expensive sled we ever sold, I think, was 33.5.
That's awesome.
But typically that was a pretty specialized unit. It had a little more jam than our standard builds. And the cool thing about what we built in sleds and what we build in snow bikes is we ride exactly what the customer gets. We don't build ourselves anything different than what the customer gets. By doing that, we're riding the same thing they're riding. So if they're having a problem, we're going to know about it. And so that's something we've always utilized with our business program to ensure that we had reliability and so on.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, so this is this is still, like you said, early 90s. So how long did it take to start snowballing? I mean, you get these first 2 and then what? Like, was it like gangbusters? Like, holy shit, I got a new business now building custom sleds.
Yeah, we did that in 95, 96. We actually closed the doors on Hoffman's machine welding and repair, much to the not happy customers that I had, you know, and some really good old farmers and ranchers around.
Right.
Worked for over the years and hunting outfitters and stuff like that. But at any rate, they understood.
Yeah, of course.
So we were full on 100% focused production of CMX snowmobiles.
So 96.
Yeah.
And who's Craig?
He was my original business partner. He was my buddy that we started building sleds for our own use.
Got it.
And Craig and I, we always pushed each other and yeah, it was,
that's awesome.
It's always a good time. We went to a motocross race in Great Falls, Montana back in the day. Craig and I did. And it was funny because it rained the whole time. And we were backcountry single track riders. So you put up with that stuff.
Yeah.
Well, we get to the race and it's raining. And they said, well, we're gonna run it anyhow. So they ran us all, and we were running with the pros. And I got first in the first moto, and Craig got first in the second moto. So he got first overall. But
that's awesome.
You know, those guys were all just spun out and laid over, and and we're out there, just riding like
dude,
know
we're
how
just
to ride it.
cruising on the trail. Yeah.
Yeah. All you had to do was keep the bike up and you're pretty much a winner.
That's awesome. So how long was Craig working with you then?
I think Craig went to his own business in 99 or thereabouts. Yeah, I think 99.
Okay, so not too long then with you.
No.
Okay.
Well, quite a while because all through high school.
Oh, before that. Sorry. Yeah, I gotcha.
Yeah.
Not with the custom sled stuff like CMX.
Right.
Like once you, yeah, I gotcha. Cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly.
So 96, you guys start that. Then what's next? Now it's like, okay, you're full on the scene. People know. I mean, this is like what Alan was talking about. Like CMX was like the sleds. They were sexy. They were freaking badass, chrome, red, like black, just super awesome looking.
Yeah. Thanks. I remember, I don't know what year it was, but Alan and his dad came by, and I think Alan had a broken arm or
he said that story. Alan, here, if you're on here, chime in. What was it? Was it a broken arm or leg? Or I remember him talking about that. I thought it was a leg, but yeah, I don't remember. Anyhow,
yeah.
So Alan and his dad came over.
Yeah, and Alan was in high school, but that was the first time I met Alan. So yeah, we've got a lot of history going back there over the years for sure.
That's awesome. What's this one here? What year is that one? Looks badass.
That would have been current model. So that we built that from 2011 is when we started building. We had our own body plastic, vacuum formed by skins.
So this is the plastics yours too?
No, that one you've got your.
Yes, we own the body work on
all of it.
Yeah.
So, but that one, the one that you have enlarged, that was our latest version of the CMX, and that older one was a carbon fiber. Yeah, that's a carbon fiber layup hood.
Got it. And so your sleds, they're lighter, they're faster. I mean, so give us an example of what was the modern day horsepower equivalent, and what was the horsepower of yours, and why were they like? What did you guys do to make these better?
Good question. We always focused on lightweight, efficiency, and as much horsepower as we could get with, not compromising the weight of the engine and so on.
Right.
So it was, like I said, it was really easy to outperform. We'd go riding and buddies on stock sleds couldn't get off the trail after we did, and then they'd get stuck as soon as they did, even in our track. And so it was the performance difference was pretty huge.
Well, the thing about it, the thing about it was we didn't just build a high horsepower machine, we built the whole machine. So we were able to get every aspect dialed in. I mean, it all has to work together. You can't just throw a big motor in a car and expect everything else to hold up.
So you guys are doing all the fabrication from the tunnel to the I mean, literally everything.
Yeah. And so getting everything to work together made it perform better. There was days I was out, I had a Polaris 800 powered CMX with just twin pipes, all stock on the motor, just our little performance mods and our chassis. And I was out climbing turbo sleds. They made more horsepower than I did, but their sleds just weren't set up for it.
Yeah.
And the 1150 Cutler that you.
Yeah. Well, it also helped. I was a lot lighter back then. I was probably 150 pounds.
And you knew how to ride a sled probably better than they did too.
Yeah, I wouldn't go that far. Well, I grew up in it,
Yeah,
you take
totally.
me snowmobiling now, I'm terrible at it.
Yeah. That's funny. Oh, by the way, Alan said he had shoulder surgery, so he must have been in a sling or something. Yeah.
Thanks, Alan.
So you're building these sleds, right? And now talk us through what was some of the revolutionary things you guys did that the sled manufacturers were not doing at this time.
I think probably the biggest thing we did, other than, always focusing on lightweight and high performance. We used exotic materials like titanium, carbon fiber, chrome moly, that type of stuff. But our biggest leap performance-wise was our belt drive that we produced in 1999.
Yeah, here it is right here.
Mhm.
Yep. And we had that available for the aftermarket. So we sold them for Arctic Cat, Skidoo, Polaris, Yamaha. We had
So
kits for all the
explain to us, because I know for me, I only snowmobiled for a couple years, and when I heard belt drive, I was like, wait, Mark did the belt drive. Now, for everybody that doesn't know snowmobiles, there's two belts, right? There's the CVT, belt that moves the, or I guess that doesn't move. This moves it as well, but there's two different belts. So describe for us what this belt is and what it used to be before this, because now they're all doing this, right?
Right. Yeah. So this is the secondary drive, and the belt drive basically takes the place of a chain case on the older stock snowmobiles. And the amazing thing was, if we had skates under our skis on our sleds, you could actually roll it across the floor just like our snow bikes. It
Mhm.
a little heavier, of course, so it required a little more effort, but the track would still roll just like that. The first time I tested the belt drive, this is a silly story, but it tells how efficient it was. We went up in the Bridgers, and there's this nice steep little chute that we like to play on and climb, and we were taking a customer out that was actually picking up a sled, because we always, when we could, took our customers on a demo ride, and we called it an orientation ride, actually. So
Mhm.
we'd take them out and answer any questions they might have, and show them a good time and whatever. So I'm more paying attention to him and watching what he's doing, and I climb that chute, and I come down, and I'm having to use the brake. And normally when we'd come down that, it's not a really long chute or anything. It's pretty short, a fun little chute to pop up. But I had to use the brake. So, I'm down there, I'm talking to him, and I go, wait a minute, this is BS. This isn't real. I'm going to go again, and I'm not going to touch the brake. And I almost crashed the damn sled because I was going way too fast to make the little corner at the bottom. So I go, yeah, this is real. Wow. We got something here.
Mm-hmm.
That was the first.
That was the first time.
Yeah. First time
Wow.
on the belt drive.
On the belt drive. Got it. And what year was that when you came out with the belt drive?
99.
99. Okay. So up to that point, chain case. And what was it that led you to doing this belt drive? Like, because at the time, like, had it been done at all?
Yeah, it had been, Kyle. There was some custom builders that had played with it and tried it and didn't have great success, so they gave up on it basically. But and we had to do some refinements and stuff, just like anything brand new. But we got it dialed in. Our first belts were 62 millimeters wide. So if you ever seen a dragster with a blower on it, that big wide belt you see on there, about 3 inches wide, that's what our original belt drive was. And then the one in the picture is a 36 millimeter wide.
So the first one was 62?
Yeah.
So it's almost half.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow. So guys, if you're looking at this picture right now, if you're watching and not just listening, I mean, if you look at just the machine and the craftsmanship of here, I just want to tell you guys, this is what's on Mark's kits now, and we'll show you. I'm going to walk through my kit that I have here, but I mean, this right here, there's so many little things to this that I think go hand in hand with the efficiency of your snow bikes, Mark. So when you created this and you realize like you had something right here with this.
Yeah, absolutely, Kyle. And one of the things we designed into our snowmobile belt drive that we carried forward into the snow bike belt drive was the fact that we have no splines or keyways in any of our sprockets. Our sprockets are bolted directly to the shaft. And so there's no way that
Yeah, let's show that here. Let me show you.
So,
Whoops, not me. Nobody wants to see me. Let's see you. Here we go.
So this sprocket, you can see there's the bolt holes there and the bolt holes on the shaft. And this is the bearing surface here. And so, and there's a shoulder here that you can see. And this sprocket sandwiches the bearing into this area right here. So it's a locator for the bearing and sets the. So that's one of the reasons it requires our kits to be so precision built, is because this shaft is 9.3 inches bearing surface to bearing surface, and that spreads that load out across our chassis. So I think we have one of the only snow bikes in the industry that we actually transfer the power from the chain side over to the other side, which balances the drive system much better. There's less gyro effect from everything spinning on the the left side where we moved it over. So our secondary drive is on the right side.
So guys, I just want to say, like, at first, this is some of the things is like Mark showed me all the little details. What he just said, if you guys aren't, and if you don't have a snow bike or you haven't gotten one or whatever, all the ones that I've seen so far, except Mark's has, you've got splines, right? Just like a normal sprocket fits over the splines. Well, what happens is over time, they become loose, right? And so you have to change those out. You have to swap them. So if you think about it, right, they're getting a little bit loose over time. Well, that creates inefficiencies in the whole system. Every time that thing is jumping forward, it's getting micro movements, millimeters of movement or whatever it is. Now, how that translates into power and, are you losing power, whatever, I don't know the numbers. I just know how it feels. And so what I noticed was it was a very connected, just connected feel. You twist, like everything's just instantaneous. And where you're talking about having your drive, you're having your belt drive on one side, the chains on the engine chain drive side of the motorcycle, that balance feel, it's something that you have to experience, because being a helicopter pilot, there's one thing you learn right away. It's gyroscopic precession, right? So it's like when things are moving in a helicopter and you make a change on one side and it happens, over here. But all of that being said, is an object in motion wants to stay in motion, right? So if you have everything on one side of the kit, it might be just a little bit, it might not, it might be nuances, but that means that there's going to be certain tendencies. For instance, every kid out there I know of, everything's on the left, right? So Mark's is left and right. So that makes for a more balanced kit when you're jumping, when you're in the air, whatever it might be. So it's one of those things that you kind of have to just experience to understand, because at first I'm like, well, does that really make a big difference? It does in my mind. It makes sense. And then when I rode it for the first time, which I'll talk about, you're like, oh, this feels very different.
Yeah, it's just.
Did I explain that right? Or
you did? Yeah, no, that was perfect, Kyle. That was perfect. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense in my brain, but sometimes it doesn't make sense when you explain it. So that being said, Mark, so why did you decide to use this sort of system instead of doing the traditional, well, let me just throw a freaking spline on there and throw a sprocket on and call it a day?
Well, because we always try and take things to the next level. We don't look for the cheapest parts to build our snowmobiles and snow bikes. We look for the best parts to build them. And with that, the best procedures and what makes the most sense for performance and longevity as well.
So, okay, now talk us through, this is, you're creating these belt drives. What's happening within the snowmobile industry now? This is early 2000s. You're making this for this, essentially it's an upgrade, right? For all the different sled companies out there. I mean, did they just start to catch on and like, well, shit, we're just going to do this ourselves?
I know there was testing done. Arctic Cat bought a system. They bought a sled from us back in the day.
Did you know that they did? Were they like, yeah, we're Arctic Cat, we're buying a sled?
Yeah, it was a guy that we met when we were in Thief River Falls, and when we'd go to Heydays, which we did every year for too many years in a row on Cameron's birthday. But so at any rate, we'd go north and we'd hit Polaris and Pro 5, which I don't believe is around anymore, but they sold scrap parts, Polaris parts that, either whatever, he had a lot of Polaris parts around. So we might go pick up, bulkheads or something like that, back clutches, whatever. And so we'd tour the factories because you'd always learn something. It's fun to look at manufacturing and see how the big guys do what they do with, and so on. So we met this guy at the Arctic Cat factory, and so we had a pretty good relationship with him. He was an engineer there. And at any rate, he's the one that communicated with us on buying the sled, and we were cool with it. Because we didn't figure that, well, our manufacturing procedures are a bit higher price-wise than
and you're not just mass producing stuff. Yeah.
Right. So ours doesn't kerchunk. It's machined, and it's
Which I'll say is one of the cool things about all the small guys right now, right? All the small snowbike companies is that's exactly what's happening, right? Is you guys they're spending more time and energy and quality on not just stamping stuff out.
Yeah. And pay attention to detail. And if something costs a nickel or $5 more, then of course you do that. I mean, that's back in the snowmobile days, it was $100 a pound. If you could take if you could take a pound off your snowmobile and only spend $100 or less, that was kind of the benchmark back in the day. So titanium
and what did just quick question that made me think, what were your sleds weight in comparison to kind of the sleds of the day?
We were probably in the neighborhood of 50 pounds lighter.
Wow, that's huge, dude. That's massive.
It was. I mean, our sleds would float and go places where, like I said, they get stuck in our track. So the manufacturers then so Arctic Cat buys one of your sleds. So talk us through then what happened. I don't think too much of anything happened. I don't think anything happened. But that, in 2013, of course, Polaris came out with the belt drive on their Pro RMK.
So was that the first year of belt drive, like by manufacturers? Got it.
Yes. And they had so many failures. We sold a ton of belt drives for Pro RMKs.
look what Mark said. I thought this is like $200 a pound on a snow bike. Wonder what that number is.
Wow. Yes, Mark.
Right now it's like $500 a pound, right?
Right. Yeah.
So 2013, they come out with this belt drive. And that was the first like manufacturer belt drive.
Yeah.
Damn, that's 10 years ago. That's freaking that's nothing.
I know.
That's wild.
Yeah.
So, and mountain sleds had come out. I mean, really, I guess Skidoo came out with the first one, which was the the Skidoo Rev, right? That was like the first stand-ups, like, or not stand-up, but more stand forward, what the hell do you call it in snowmobiling? I don't know.
Rider forward position.
Rider forward. There you go. Rider forward position. See, I'm not a sledder, so I don't know. So that was kind of when that came out. And then they progressively got more mountain oriented, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then you got guys like Brett Rasmussen, who's working with Skidoo, and he's helping develop just crazy, new mountain sleds and stuff like that. So you're still chugging along though, man, making these custom sleds up to that point, right?
Yeah. I'll tell you what, the downturn was, we came home from Heydays September 10th, 2001.
2001? Oh, damn. Yeah. That was right before 9/11.
Yeah.
Wow.
We slept in because we got home at like 2 a.m. or whatever. And we get up the next morning to that world. And from that day on, I mean, people were loving life, enjoying themselves, spending money. Yep. The American dream was alive and kicking. And that was the downturn for the entire country, whether people want to recognize it or not. Mm-hmm. That's when things started turning the other way. And it's it was on a downhill trajectory for us till 2015.
Well,
You
and
know.
then you have the housing market crash of 08, and that
Oh,
really
hey.
threw a wrench. I mean, that freaking, I know that was one of the things with Tumoto, you know, it was like, yeah, they were chugging along too, getting ready to do some stuff, and then boom, housing market crash. So you've got 01, 9/11 already starting to downturn, and then 08 happens, and then now manufacturers are building new sleds. You know, they're starting to get wise to the fact that people want mountain badass high performance sleds.
Yeah, that is a fact. Yeah, they could no longer ignore the mountain market segment.
Yep. So you're seeing this. So slowly, essentially, what's happening, I mean, is your business, you're just starting to lose market share, right? I mean, you're just losing this market share. And so are you?
I'm sorry. Everybody was, Kyle, because if you look at the snowmobile sales year by year, they were, and we tapered off proportionately with that. But then towards the end of our sled building, the majors were building some pretty darn capable mountain sleds. They weren't to the level of ours, but the customer perception was that, hey, it's pretty close, right? So I can just do that.
Good enough.
So yeah, there were still the guys that wanted the best, and they wanted,
of course,
what they knew they were going to get. So, but yeah, it just got pretty narrow.
Okay, so now talk us through. And by the way, guys, before Mark gets into this, I'm going to send a quick message here in the chat. You guys go check this out, and I'll talk about this later. Here's our Telegram Snowbike group that I created. So this is going to be a pretty just kind of, I guess you could say, not elite, but like only, not everybody's going to be on this, right? This isn't like a Facebook, 20,000 people. Well, not yet anyway. So if you're not familiar with Telegram, go check it out, join the group, and then we can talk more later. So Mark, 2015, when did you first see a snowbike then, as we kind of transition into snowbikes?
Well, we had seen, the timber sled Allen's units.
You hadn't seen the two motos though? Like you guys hadn't really heard of those, or?
Hadn't heard of them, hadn't seen them even, ever, until we went to the snowbike race in McCall, Idaho, and then we said, what the heck is that thing?
Yeah, good old Tumoto, man. I love that thing. So what was that?
A UFO kit.
Yeah.
Right
that's right. The UFO kit. Yeah. Wasn't that Canada?
No, I don't
Canadian.
think so.
Oh, okay.
I don't
the UFO
think so.
Kit was Canadian.
What the thing that attracted us to the UFO kit was the nice billet machine parts that he had on it, but there was a lot of inefficiencies built into the kit, which made it, the brake didn't work on it the whole time we rode it, and it didn't need it anyhow. So
that's awesome.
Slow down on its own. But so yeah,
is that the UFO? There it is.
Oh yeah. Is that what it is?
Yeah.
I mean, I remember seeing it. I just couldn't really remember what it looked like. Huh.
I think
interesting.
They didn't build very many of them.
No, they didn't.
Timber sled. Oh, a timber sled. But Alan, did you guys buy UFO in 2014? Apparently. Apparently Alan he's like, I'm going to buy this freaking company. That's awesome. Oh, I did not know that. Well, we just learned something new. That's really cool. All right. So you guys saw the UFO kit. You saw the other kits out there. So what year was that? You said 2011?
2014.
2014?
Yeah, it was 13 or 14, right? 13, 14 winter. And we went out and met Alan face to face again. And
Alan, yes, to get them off the market. And, hell yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I'm gonna take it.
Yeah, so we bought one of Alan's timber sled kits. I think it was a 2014 model, and brought it home, put it on our bike, and you had it in our test fleet as well. And
so you knew that this was the Alan Mangum who had come to your shop with his dad, right?
Well, yeah. Alan may have had to remind me at that time, but I can't remember for sure.
Yeah.
Well, we knew Alan from when he was building snowmobile skids.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, so we've always known of Alan
we've
and
always
his
had
timber sled business.
Yeah. We've
that's
always
right.
had communications and
So you guys had been following, you'd been seeing what he was doing.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. But you didn't get one until 2014, huh?
Right. Yep.
And what held you guys off? Like, why did you guys not get one right away? Bunch of dirt bikers. I figured y'all would have been like, hell yeah, I want to try this.
We were like the rest of the guys that haven't been converted yet. We just didn't know any better.
We're pretty into our snowmobiles that we were building.
We thought our sleds were pretty cool.
You're poo-pooing the snow bikes. You're like, those snow bike things are never gonna catch on. Those are stupid.
Hey, in all reality, Kyle, I did poo-poo the snow bike thing for a while. I was like, I don't know.
We all did. But then it was a fight who got to ride the snow bike.
Yeah.
Right.
So,
doing circles around the guy on the sled, you know. You're like, shit.
Right.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So 2014. Yeah, so 2014 you buy it then.
Yep.
Okay. What do you guys put it on?
KTM.
Okay.
It was a 2014 450 SX.
Okay, so you guys put it on a KTM, and then what? Talk us through that like whole mindset shift.
Well, and Alan's watching, right?
Yeah, he's on here. So yeah, Alan, you can jump in.
Well,
we can always get out, Alan. If you want to join in, we can get you on here too.
Yeah, because I might not tell the story exactly right, Alan, but you correct me if I make a mistake here. But so at any rate, I called Alan up and I had a conversation with him, and I said, "Hey, Alan, we want to get into the snowbike business, but we don't want to build a complete unit. We want to build belt drive systems for your timber sleds, and we'll sell belt drive systems to you for use on your production kits, and then we'll take care of the aftermarket as far as their needs go."
And timber sled was it right now, because Yeti didn't start until 2016, I think.
Nope, they come out the same year we did.
Okay.
And I have another story about that, so remind me later.
Okay.
But at any rate, Alan's kind of he's listening, but hindsight's 2020. He'd probably already been in conversations with Polaris that purchased timber sled.
Yeah, he was having the Polaris conversations then.
Yeah. So I'll just. So that went on for a little while, and so what happened then on our end was we said, well, shoot, we didn't want to have to build our own snowbike kit, but that kind of forced us into building our own snowbike kits. And so that's why and when we started building snowbike kits. We wanted to ease into the market through the aftermarket, build parts and stuff for, upgrade parts and so on.
Yeah.
For existing snowbikes. And
yeah, you saw that opportunity. You saw, hey, these new things are coming online here. We like them. They're fun to ride. It's going to grow. Let's start making some parts and cool stuff for them.
Yeah, the big push was we were really enjoying snowbiking, and so
yeah,
fair enough.
The sled market was going down for us, so it was it was kind of imminent that we did a business change. So we got, and it really helped that we all love and enjoy snowbiking. So
and we're all dirt bikers too. I don't know if I should tell everybody this, but back in the day when we were building snowmobiles, I made the statement, I go, there may come a day in my life that I don't own a snowmobile, but there will never come a day in my life I don't own a motorcycle.
That's
so
awesome.
I got a summer and a winter bike. We all do. We all got, we're spoiled that way because we love motorcycles that much, and we love riding them and single track and fun.
Hey, I wouldn't go as spoiled. I bought my own summer bike. So. The company owns my snow bike, but I had to buy my own summer bike.
Dad's like, no, sorry, dude. That's not a business expense.
Right.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And I like that, because I think, because you guys are riders, right? And again, to each his own, right? There's a lot of people who ride snow bikes that I know even that aren't dirt bikers, right? They don't go out and
Yeah.
do the single track or whatever. They're just like, nope, I like snow biking, and then I like side by sides and whatever, boating and stuff in the summer. Like, so fair enough. But I think for those of us that are dirt bikers and snow bikers, you know, there's even maybe a little bit of a delineation in terms of what we prefer over guys that aren't dirt bikers, right? And the way that we ride snow bikes, even, I think. And so when you look at, you know, I'm just off the top of my head, I'm thinking of, you know, Regency, Brock Hoyer, you know, my buddies Matt Cox and Shannon Mason, and, you know, freaking Darren Bearcloth, and some of these guys that are, they're moto guys too, right? Like, it's very apparent the way they ride hard, man, and they can freaking send it like no one else, you know? And so I think there is a difference there when you start getting down to the nuances of how they feel to a dirt biker versus someone who's not. And for myself at this point, I've taken hundreds of people on tours, and I'll take, let's say, a guy who, you know, all he does is ride roads, and, you know, he's just, I ride Harleys and I ride this, and he can snow bike and he'll learn. But I'll tell you what, man, they struggle sometimes because they don't know how to slip the clutch. They don't know the friction zone. They're used to like on, off, on, off. You take a dirt biker or a motocross guy that's riding all the time, they lose their freaking minds on a snow bike. They're just like, you know, kid in a candy store out there on the mountain, just like, this is the most fun freaking shit I've ever done in my life, you know? And they're just, you know, that's all they want to do. So, no, I think that's great. What's that?
The giggle maker.
Oh, dude, I always tell people, it's funny seeing grown men in their like 50s, you know, or older, and like we'll get to the top of some mountain and they're just losing their shit. You know, I'm up there watching them videotape it. Yeah, you know, dude, good. They're like, oh my gosh, Kyle, like, I can't believe we just did that. Like, look what, you know, and they're just losing their minds, dude. It's so fun. So, so you guys then 2015, you decide, hey, we're going to make a snow bike, or 2014, right?
Yeah. 2014.
Okay. Okay. So 2014 was like, we're going to do this.
Could have been. Yeah. See, I knew I'd probably get that wrong. It was
Probably
it was probably 50. It was probably 15.
So.
Yeah,
Okay.
we built sleds in 15.
We built sleds and snowbike
Yeah, winter
kits
of
in
14, 15 was the last year we did production sleds.
Okay.
That was a artist render, actually a mechanical drawing rendering of the of our kit. We never that's the kit we built, of course.
Yeah.
There was nothing existing, and so we put that picture up on Facebook and announced to the world that we're going to build a snowbike kit, and this is what it's going to look like. And
what was the reception?
The reception was not great.
Really?
Seems like we got the attention of Polaris, and so we got this really nice letter from Polaris's legal team,
because they're in the works of acquiring Timber Sled that no one knows about yet.
Well, they actually at this time, I think it was already announced.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Everybody knew it at that time, because when we came out, you know, Yeti came out the same year, Moto Tracks, Yeti, and Snowtech MX.
Snowtech, yep.
Oh yeah,
Camso didn't come out until the following year, 2017. But to get back to the story about Polaris, so, you know, obviously a giant company like that coming after you legally, and we're a small family run business here. But
so what happened? What'd they do?
They sent us a legal letter and basically
cease and desist.
They basically said we needed to prove that we're not infringing on their patent. And so I'm thinking, oh man, we're outgunned really hard here. What do we do? And so I called every other snowbike manufacturer that came out the same year we did. And there's the ones I just named, all of them. I called every one of them, and I talked to the head guys, you know, Jamie and Kevin at C3 and Moto Tracks. And, you know, I talked to every manufacturer that came out that year. We are the only company that they came after.
No shit. That's wild.
It was a bit scary, a little overwhelming. But funny thing was, our daughter went to school, law school in Virginia Beach, Virginia. And so we're talking to her. So she's got her law degree and everything. We're talking to her and she goes, wait a minute, I went to school with a kid that went to work for a patent attorney firm. Let me get a hold of him. So she does, and we end up hooking up with the firm. It's called Denton's, and so I'm looking at lawyers, and lawyer firms are ranked nationwide and worldwide. And I might have the numbers wrong, but the proportions pretty good here.
Yeah.
I looked up Polaris. They had inside house attorneys, and they actually hired another law firm from out of house. So they had their both working on us. And I looked up their ranking, and there was like their out of house attorneys, they're not in-house, isn't ranked because they don't do anything for anybody else. But the out of house attorney firm was ranked, and it was like 150th in the nation or something like that. And I looked ours up, 4th in the world.
Oh, damn. That's awesome.
Yeah. And
it was just a blessing that we got.
It was an absolute blessing for sure. So we've had a lot of blessings and throughout our business years and so on, but that was a big one.
So hold on. So, okay. So you hire this patent, their patents, all that. Yeah. So walk us, I mean, if you can, we don't have to get on it. Maybe we do that later, but if you can.
It's pretty simple. We talk to them, and then when we're on the phone with the Polaris attorneys, my lawyer, he's like telling me, now you can't say anything, even if they try and goat you in, don't take the bait.
Just shut up, Mark.
And I go, I want to say I'm not a little kid. I kind of know what's up here. I know the game. So anyhow, I never said anything, but I always got to listen in on the calls. Yeah. And what struck me, Kyle, was my attorney would ask a question, address an issue, and it was always silence for a long time. And then we'll have to get back to you on that. We'll have to get back to you. So anyhow, that's the way every phone conversation went. But there was one thing in the patent which was unique to the design, and it was also not pre-existing that we knew of. And so that
in their patent or yours?
Yeah, theirs. We don't have that. Right. So at any rate, that one particular aspect was that, the Snowbike Kit is rigid mounted to the motorcycle frame.
Mm-hmm.
So it's summertime. We're out riding motorcycles and dirt bikes up in the mountains and single track, and we stop and eat some lunch, and we're sitting there talking, and Cameron goes, "Hey, Dad, why don't we put a polyurethane bushing in our link rod, and then it won't be rigid mounted," because he was working on his hot rod car at the time, and he had these red polyurethane bushings in his front of his car. And so I go, well, that's a great idea, Cameron. And so we tested it, on the press, and we'd seen how much movement. Basically, if you completely bottom the suspension out, you'll get about 2.5 inches at the rear bumper of travel from that compliant link rod.
Got it. Got it.
Then
just by adding that bushing, you're able to basically circumvent it.
Exactly. The only thing that we saw that was a unique aspect of the patent.
Well, and I guess with like all this stuff, there's multiple snowmobile companies out there. There's freaking car companies out there. Like, we all know, there's only so many ways to do certain things, right? And I think this is part of kind of, the beauty of America is we have, I don't remember what the laws are called, basically, so you can't have monopolies, right? Because, competition's good and healthy for the market, etc. So they were just kind of trying to be like, hey, for whatever reason, they decided to come after you. Maybe it was because you've been in the game for so long with snowmobiles and stuff, and these other guys are kind of brand new to the scene. But I do find that interesting, and they're doing something like that now as we speak, and many of us know about. So, which I don't think is the wisest decision, but whatever. I'm not a lawyer, so for whatever reason, their lawyers just are figuring that it is a good decision. That being said, how long did that process take? And that must have cost some freaking coin to do that. I mean, you don't have to give the numbers, but lawyers aren't cheap. So you're fighting, little old CMX in Clyde Park, Montana is fighting Polaris.
Yeah. It was a substantial amount of money, but we weren't going to quit. And we knew that, we knew that we could win. It lasted just over a year. And
wow.
And then we were 100% free and clear.
So you didn't make a kit then for that year?
No, we went along like business as usual. Yep. We're that confident.
Yep.
Yeah.
Go for broke, Kyle.
Yeah. You're like, prove it, guys. Hell yeah. That's awesome. Yep. So you guys are chugging along. You're in battles. Did they try doing a like, hey, you can't do this, cease and desist now? Or was it just like, I mean, how did that go?
No, it was basically the communication between the lawyers. And then, like I said, I got to listen in on all the phone calls so that I knew what was going on as well. But it pretty much, they knew they didn't have anything. And, basically, I think we
probably were hoping they, oh, go ahead.
I think we could have countersued if they would have kept pursuing it.
Yeah.
I know Simmons skis.
Yeah.
They won a lawsuit against Skidoo, which is like unheard of.
Wow.
But for their ski design. So
that I didn't know that.
It's another one for the history books. And
that's interesting. So they sued them and won because Skidoo basically ripped off their design.
Exactly. Yep.
Interesting. It's kind of like a lot of people don't know this. I always joke with people because I am not an iPhone user. I'm like anti-iPhone. So whatever, dude, all you haters out there, I don't care. Anyways,
what's up with that?
Well, iPhone has lost multiple lawsuits to Samsung because they rip off their technology and stuff. And then they just are like, whatever, we're just going to pay it. We don't care. So it's like all the big snowmobile companies are like, whatever, we're just going to pay. We're just going to rip it off and then pay them. So anyhow, so you guys battle this lawsuit, you win. Well, not even, I guess it's a lawsuit, but you win. And are you just like, at that point, like you're just grateful it's done and like, let's move forward?
Absolutely. Yeah.
So what was the reception like then when you came out with that first snow bike with the public, not the manufacturers? Because if I'm hearing correctly, I mean, 2015, 2016, that was like the year of the snow bike. I mean, you got Mototrack, CMX. What was the other one you said? Snow Tech, and who else?
Yeti.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeti. Everybody's kind of coming out then, right? So it's like, boom,
yep.
All of a sudden you got Timber Sled and then 5 more.
Yeah. Exactly. So,
by the way, Mark just said, and I was actually, when I was talking to, so we're going to interview the new owner of Mototracks, but yeah, they got the letter too. It sounds like at one point. So that's interesting, but you had to fight it.
When I talked to Randy, they hadn't gotten ready. So.
Gotcha. So yeah, so the reception then within the market now, what's happening within the, the world of snow biking?
Well, it was a tough crowd because the market's confused because here's all these kits. Which one do I buy? You know, so it was a tough deal. Yeah. And it took a while to get, for things to get proven out and, companies to go away and, just whatever from, their.
How much has your kit, as we're kind of getting into the kit, how much, I mean, I think out of the gate, one of the unique things is obviously the belt drive. So you took the technology, and what you learned on snowmobiles, and you applied it to the Snowbike kit. And at that time, there wasn't one. And you guys obviously didn't even know that Yeti was about to come out with the belt drive, right? So Yeti comes out with the belt drive as well. And then you guys come out with this, essentially you guys came out with these in tandem.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yep. So talk us through like the putting the belt drive on there and trying to, I guess, essentially not convince, but just like, hey, ride the kit, see what you guys think about this belt drive. Cause right out of the gate, you had it on the right-hand side. I mean, literally, I don't know how much your belt drive has changed from the beginning, but it looks pretty similar.
That picture that you're showing was our original one. You can see it has flanges on all 3 sprockets.
Mm-hmm.
Our new system is 7 millimeters wider. That one had a 21 millimeter wide belt, and it worked fine until we developed our own track, the CMX track. And then we had to go to the 28 millimeter wide belt because that 21 was too weak to hold the extra traction that we got with the CMX track. So that was one of the big evolutions right there. And then we got rid of, because our kit is so perfectly square because everything is machined, we can get away with only running flanges on the idler sprocket now instead of
here.
Instead of, like you can see this sprocket right here. There's no flanges on it. Top and bottom sprocket.
Here, let me show you here. So that one that you have. Oh yeah. I gotcha.
No flanges on
now why does that matter, having a flange or not on that?
If your system doesn't run true, you got to have flanges, otherwise that belt's going to walk off.
Got it. That makes sense.
So we can get away with one set of flanges only because our system is so true.
Okay, gotcha. And then so you guys, when did you change that?
Probably
2017.
2017. Well, we started taking the flanges off of those to test it. And so that's the first thing we did is we ran those sprockets and took the flanges off, ran them without flanges. And like I say, then when we had our own track, then we had to go with the wider belt. Yeah, and that's the earlier system too, Kyle.
Yeah, and so before we get into the kit or the track too, because a lot of people might not know this, you guys have your own track. Let's get into just the design of it. When you're going through this initial design, why did you decide to do it where it's so far forward, almost underneath, the foot peg, so to speak? Because every other kit, and guys go out, that are listening and, go out there and measure, and you can see, the difference in where the front of the track is in relation to your bike. And part of this has to do, part of, I think, the feel or the lightness, the nimbleness, the dirt bike like quality of it is how far up it is underneath the bike, which, I think, in my opinion, just based off riding it, it just makes for a different feeling kit,
Yeah, and that was one of the things we discovered early on when we were doing our prototype work, is we ended up moving a kit forward on a bike, and it wasn't known at the time of how big of a deal that was, but then once we did it, it became known fairly fast.
So initially, when you were doing your designs, you didn't have it that far forward.
No, we didn't.
Gotcha. But so what made you
was that far forward?
Yeah,
it was when we were early season testing. I mean, back, when we first started building kits, you could pop a wheelie on the trail. You could dump the clutch and stand it on its rear idlers and ride a little bit of a wheelie. And all other kits we wrote, you couldn't do that on any of them. You always had to have like a bump or something to get the ski off the ground. And so, I mean, we figured out right away that it makes it more.
And was a lot of that just the sheer fact that you guys are dirt bikers, and so you're like, how can we get it to feel a little poppier like a dirt bike? Where you just on a dirt bike, dude, you just pop the clutch and bop, you get that front wheel up.
Yeah, Kyle, you probably wheelie over every mud puddle you see in the trail.
No, I like to hit them and splash mud everywhere.
Yeah.
Only if your buddy's close enough to
Yeah. So that was, hey, if we move the kit further forward, we can achieve that.
Yeah, exactly. And then, by making our kit feel more dirt bike like, what comes along with that is you as a rider need to move your body on your motorcycle just like you do your off-road bike. So in other words, you got to move on the bike to make it do what you want it to do. If you want to pick the ski up and carry it, you lean back. If you want to keep the ski down and climb a steep mountain, a steep face, you lean forward. It's very natural for a dirt bike rider.
Well, it's natural for a dirt bike rider. That's where, like I said, I see the dual sport or the street rider struggle because they're not used to that. A dirt biker's like, well, yeah, you just freaking move how you want to ride it.
Yeah. Well, they're used to, I can just sit on it and it's going to go where it's going to go,
Yeah, totally. So it has that playful feel. So not only did you move it up, but if I remember correctly, it's got also, and it shows this in the picture here. Let me pull the picture back up, but it has this low angle of attack as well, right? I mean, how far is it from the bottom, the middle right there to the bottom of the ground?
It's more relative to the face of the driver. The plastic driver inside the track, Kyle.
Oh, right here. Got it.
Yeah, and that's how far back the track travels to where it contacts the ground.
Before it contacts the Hyfax on the rear suspension there. That we call that the attack angle or the approach angle. And Kyle, the reason it's that way is because our sleds were that way. We knew we knew that was a huge advantage for any over the snow vehicle for getting up on the snow. That nice, gentle approach angle helps that happen a lot easier.
Gotcha. So you're talking about, right here.
Yeah.
Yep. The approach angle. And so up to that point, were the other snow bikes, were they similar or no? Did they have a steeper?
I believe they were. Well, yeah, I know they were all steeper than ours.
Mm-hmm. And so and that translates to getting up on the snow faster.
Yeah. Less trenching,
which is funny that you say that because I remember, and again, like I said, I had never ridden a CMX kit for a long time. I hadn't really seen one. And, as I talked to, it was one of those things. I'm the type of guy where you can tell me whatever and I will listen and I will take it with a grain of salt. But until I've experienced it, it's not that I don't trust someone. It's just that I might ride it different, or maybe the setup's different. So I take it all with a grain of salt. So I had heard from other people who had never ridden one. They're like, well, I heard a CMX, they trench real bad. And I was like, interesting. Well, maybe it's just the setup, that was kind of my thing. I'm like, well, I've never ridden one, so I can't say yes or no, but I was like, maybe it was just a setup. So walk us through. Did you find that guys were having problems when they would set them up and then they're all of a sudden trenching or no?
You want to address that first?
Sure. Yeah, we've definitely ran into that. We send all of our snowbike kits out of the shop with a link rod that's specifically set to length for each bike. You'll generally only see trenching issues when people start messing with the length of that link rod, and then it really
want to lower the seat height by shortening the link rod. It just kills your performance.
Yeah. So they're starting to change the geometry of it essentially.
Yep, exactly.
Gotcha. Well, yeah, of course that's going to mess with things.
Or messing with their front shock spring, because you stiffen your front rail shock up and then it's not complying to the softer snow. And we've updated a lot of shock valving over the years to get it to perform the way it does now.
Yeah. Yeah. That makes sense. So, and again, like I said, that was one of those, I mean, I never experienced that. So, I can't speak to that. I just know that was something that, people were talking about. So like I said, it makes sense that, it just had to do a setup. So you have belt drive. It's on the other side. You've got your kit is further up underneath the bike. Talk us through what other kind of innovations and differences about your kits, Mark.
Well, maybe now is a good time to show our 24 updates that we're
before you do that, though, there is one important thing I want everybody to understand who's watching this is Mark has his track is his own track, right? It is the CMX track, literally has their logo on there. So walk us through, because I think there's two important things we're leaving out here. It's the ski and it's your track. So walk us through the development of both of those and why you decided to create your own track.
Yeah, thanks, Kyle. Well, we always, even back in the snowmobile days, we wanted a CMX track. We helped develop the first, the Challenger track. We sent a fax, again, back to the fax machine, into the engineer it was Camoplast back in the day, and his name was Dennis Cortamash. And Dennis Cortamash was the lead engineer at Camoplast. And we sent in this fax on a legal sheet of paper showing that staggered pattern of that Challenger track.
Wait, that's the one that's still, isn't that the one that's still used today?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it hadn't been used, that there was no track pattern like that.
Well, no, there wasn't. That was, I mean, the aftermarket drove the market back in the day, and we were part of that. But that was one of the things that we had a contribution on. Not that there weren't other people involved as well, but that's what we did back in the day. And I can't remember what year that was, but then as far as our snowbike track design, that came, of course, from the snowmobile industry as well. They Camso had sent us a track to test, and it was called the Peak 2.5. And they had it in two different stiffnesses. And so we put it on our sleds, and it was pretty amazing, the difference that track made over the traditional standard tracks, the old Challenger type tracks and so on. And so we really fell in love with that track, and we would put that track on people's stock sleds, back in the snowmobile days, of course. And they would beat their buddies bad.
What was the differences? What did you guys notice right out of the gate having this staggered track pattern versus now? What was the track pattern of the Challenger, you called it?
Yeah, Challenger.
It was two on the outside, one in the center, and then two on the outside, one in the center. And where that Peak 2.5 is, it's similar to our track on our snow bikes, where it's one wide panel on each side.
Got it.
And they overlap slightly.
Yeah, and they overlap slightly. And what we noticed with that Peak was just the amount of traction. I mean, we had them on our turbo sleds, and it was just hooking up hard.
So this is the kind of old Challenger track design, huh?
Yep.
Camoplast, it even says.
Yep.
Got it. And they had these little fingers on them too, huh?
Yep.
Got it. So you guys, okay, so yeah, that makes sense. I mean, there's a lot of gaps in between there, right? A lot of, it's not hooking up in the snow. I mean, that just kind of makes sense as you look at it. So you guys now have this staggered design. You essentially created that for, Camoplast, and then you're rocking their tracks now on your initial snow bikes, right?
We actually purchased tracks from Yeti, and they were that the other design, but they were also way too soft. So we knew that right away, and we knew there was a bit of track.
The paddles were too soft, flexing.
Exactly.
So essentially, when instead of digging into the snow, they were just kind of folding, and they weren't really hooking up like they needed to.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And Yeti, the following year or second year, I think they made a stiffer lug track. And, you know, when we first asked Camoplast, Camso now, for a track, you know, we wanted a CMX track. Well, it was like, it was unattainable. It was like the tooling was $250,000 and you got to buy, I believe it was 150 tracks or it
like
was
commit up front.
Yeah. And so, you know, that was not, I said, well, we might get there someday, but it's going to be a little before we get to that point. So at any rate, in 2018, we did end up getting our own CMX track. And
so what was the thought process to doing that? Why did you decide, hey, we're going to go all in and we're going to make our own freaking track? Like,
we felt we needed it. Yeah, it was like
necessary.
We need this for performance.
Yep.
Yeah. So walk us through the design of your track now.
Well, Kyle, basically it's that Peak 2.5 with some slight changes. Yeah. You know, we got a twin tower outer lug design. You know, our track is 2.5 in the center and tapers down 1/4 of an inch as it goes to the outside. So their paddles are 2 1/4 on the outside edges.
I'm gonna grab real quick. I'm gonna grab my phone and show everybody this so they can see exactly what it looks like, because I think that's important. So hold on, let me grab my phone here.
Okay.
All right, let's do this. See if I can make it work. All right, add to stage here. All right. Yeah. My messy shop here. Let me grab my headphones. All right. Can you guys all hear me now?
Yep.
Hear you.
Okay. Let me make this big here, Mark, and then you can kind of walk through it. All right. Solo layout. Here we go. All right, guys. Here's the Snowbike Nation shit show. As you can see. By the way, whoever hasn't seen this bike, the Cove 450, dude, it's badass. We're doing a full ride up and riding it. Anyways, it's awesome. All right, let's look at Snowbikes. So we got Mark's track here. So here's his track. So you've got these stiffer lugs, right, Mark?
Yeah.
Okay. So walk us through that. What's the difference here between this track and the Challenger track?
Well, like I said, you've got that twin tower outer lug design, and that maintains the stiffness. Yeah, right in there. That maintains the stiffness of the track and keeps it from folding over. And then there's a large tower on the inboard side, and then
right here.
And a reinforcement one about halfway across there, part way across.
This one?
The paddle, yeah.
Yep. Oh, right there. Yep. Okay, and that's not on the Challenger track.
Well, it's a total different design, but no, it's not.
Actually, look, you can see I've got a folded down Yeti one right there that I'm building. So yeah, it doesn't have that. Okay. Yep. So you did that. What else is different or unique?
Well, what's different and unique this season is
wait, with the track?
Yeah, on the track, yeah.
Oh. Yep. I didn't know you changed something on the track.
Well, nobody will unless we tell them. We changed the clip design, Kyle. So basically, the steel clips.
Okay.
We went with a smaller clip. It's still got the same amount of clips and guide clips and everything else, but it takes a pound out of the track, which is rotating mass. And so
hell yeah.
Taking 1 pound of rotating mass out of the equation is like taking 7 pounds of static weight off the vehicle. So it's
that's crazy.
Spool a little quicker and it'll just work just a little better.
So while we're looking at this, guys, I just want to tell everybody just a quick story. So I go to CMX, they get me all set up on this, and then this is November. Dude, it was early. It was like November 7th, I think, and we got a bunch of snow. And so JP and I are just jonesing for snow. So we, on our way home, we stopped over in it was like Sealy Lake area, And it was probably only like a foot of snow at the trailhead, and it was actually raining, but I was like, I don't give a shit, we're finding snow. So we drive, down a couple miles until it started getting really deep. We pull over and we're just riding back in there. It was still pretty crappy snow. But it was like, okay, I can kind of get the feel for it. We're like hitting dirt, hitting ice, and it's just not looking very good. But that's just how I am. I'm like, I don't care. I'm going to ride till I can't ride. And so we keep going back there, and we finally get into, I'm not kidding, dude. It was probably, 3 to 4 feet of snow, and I'll have to post the pictures. And all of a sudden it was like, oh, this feels way different. And when I stopped, one of the things I noticed right away was how fast it spooled up and how quick I got on top of the snow. In fact, I was like wondering, I'm like, this kit, I was like, I feel like I'm really tall on this thing. And then I was like, oh, it's just because I'm literally floating. Like I'm just on top of the snow. Like I wasn't going through the snow at all. And I think we were on, I don't even remember what kit we were on. I think we were on a Yeti kit or something. And it was just such a different feel. And I think a lot of that equates to this, how far forward it is underneath. Cause I think most of the other kits are probably about right here, give or take. I don't know exactly. So that was my first experience on the CMX kit. And then just kind of going through the season, so to speak. So as you guys can see, one thing I really liked about this is hands down, it's kind of reminds me, it's reminiscent of the old Mountain Horse in terms of adjusting the chains, just super simple, right? I mean, literally it's that bolt right there, and then you loosen that up and you can move the idler wheel. That's it, right? Or am I missing something?
Oh, that's right.
Yeah. So literally 2 bolts, you move this up or down to get your chain tension. I mean, you can see my chain tension, like that's pretty much where it was all season long. And it literally takes you 1 minute to adjust your chain tension. So I really like that, especially, when you got that many bikes going on, you want to have things as simple as possible and as easy as possible. So I really liked that unique feature. And I like the fact that, like Mark was talking about, guys, you see the sprocket, how everything bolts on to the whole shaft there. So there's no splines. So you're never losing anything. Like this can't wear out because it's not on a spline. So I really, really like that piece as well. And then just a couple other things that I really liked was I rode this. I don't even know how many hours we had on it at one time, but I kind of got really a little bit lax at checking everything, which you guys shouldn't do. But when you got like freaking 10 bikes, I'm like, okay, here's our checklist, check, right before our rides. And I kind of got a little lax with the CMX. I'm like, well, I'm always checking everything and everything's tight still. Like bolts are tight. Like literally all these bolts, nothing ever loosened up, right? Everything was always tight. And so I was like, well, I just kind of quit checking stuff. So I came back from a ride one day. This whole freaking thing was gone, right? I mean, this whole piece was gone, and it was still pretty damn straight in there. But obviously it was just being held on the other side. And then I started really checking things. I was like, well, that's not good. And then I was like missing a bolt down here, it was just like some little random things, but I didn't even notice. So I called Mark and I was like, well, I didn't do a very good job at my, my maintenance and my, my, like a good helicopter pilot, your pre-check, your pre-check list. So literally threw 2 bolts in there, or 1 bolt. Mark sent me that, put it back on, ran it. Nothing ever happened. Nothing ever was weird or wore out or anything like that. So from just a bulletproofness maintenance standpoint, I don't know what else you could do better on this thing, to be honest. I mean, and you can see that was my fault. I owe Mark a little bar there. That was from trying to pull out another snow bike. And I jammed on it really hard. It was my fault. I was like, I probably shouldn't. It did pull it out though, just so you know. So it did hold.
Impressive. You didn't completely total that, Mark.
What's that?
I said it's very impressive that you did not completely total that.
Yeah, dude, it held on. So, you know, and just the overall, I mean, when you look at the design of it, right, everything like you were talking about, Mark, is very squared, right? I mean, everything is just, it looks like a freaking, like a lightweight, you know, tank. I mean, I guess that's what I would call kind of how it was all season. And if you guys look at my Hyfaxes, they didn't even wear down at all. And I can tell you, I replaced Hyfaxes on a couple others. So it was just wild, man. For me, it was just like, well, it just works. Like I don't have to do anything. So it was pretty cool from that standpoint. So I can really appreciate you know, that on their Mark, and thank you for that. So let me hang up on you. Whoops. There we go. Sorry. All right. Can you hear me?
Oh yeah.
Okay. I got you guys.
So Kyle, I don't want everybody to go away before we talk about quickly. I mean, I just kind of want to do a quick once over.
Yes. On our the new stuff.
Because I know that's what people want to hear, and it's already, you know, going on 10 o'clock, and you know,
that's all right. We can talk 2 more hours, Snowbikes. so what? One other important thing though, Mark, because I think this is uber important, guys. Your ski and your spindle. And there is a video of me, guys, and I'll find it and post it. We went up to Golden riding. We brought Mark's kit. Me and JP are up there riding, and I'm just bombing along, CMX kit, having a good old time. And I hit a freaking rock, like just as hard as you can hit a rock. And I mean, just chucked me over the bars, you know, full on yard sale. And like, it didn't feel good, you know, and I got up and I was like, well, that was bad. And hopefully nothing's broken. And I go and I look at, you know, I'm on Mark's kit and I'm looking at spindle, I'm looking at ski, I'm looking at everything. And I was like, yeah, good to go. Like, here we go. And so I'm known to break shit and hit shit. Like, that's just kind of, I always tell everyone, I'm like, if you want some stuff broken, send it to me. I promise you I'll break it. And I live up to that pretty well. And so I mean, I hit a lot of stuff on your kit, dude. And I tried, I mean, I wasn't trying to break it, but I was like not being gentle on it. And any of my buddies that ride with me, you know, they're like, yeah, if you want to find Kyle, you'll see broken plastics like in the woods, you know, just follow the trail of broken plastic parts off the motorcycle. So your spindle, very unique, and your ski is similar to the Yeti ski. However, it's different. And that's because you guys utilized the Yeti ski for a while, right?
We did, just like the track. We, you know, I mean, purchasing tooling for the track, and then the next thing we did was purchase tooling for the ski. One thing that we did help a little bit with the development of the Yeti ski after it existed, of course, but we had them move the spindle attach point further forwards on the ski. So if you look at a Yeti ski, you'll see a divot in the plastic where the old ski bolt used to go. And we learned that from the snowmobile days, from the skis that we ran. We had some Sly Dog skis that we tested, and we went out, rode them, and come back to the shop and took them off as quick as we could because we hated them. And so I had all these skis, some Simmons skis and some Polaris skis and some other skis laying there on the floor. And, you know, I'm talking on the phone, and whenever I'm talking to somebody on the phone, I'm always walking around looking at something and, you know, just looking at it. And it occurred to me while I'm on the phone talking to this person that there's way too much ski in front of the spindle. And so then it's out there hunting constantly like this. So we put them, you know, we thought, well, okay, we'll give it the benefit of the doubt. We put them in the milling machine and drilled some new holes for the spindle attach point and took them out, and we loved them. And so when Yeti first came out with their ski, it was terrible. It was doing that hunting thing, you know, and all the time, and people were not happy with that. And so I called Jamie and Kevin and talked about it with them, and we put some balance into the ski. And you can see our ski there. You know, the balance is critical on a ski.
Mhm.
How much ski you have in front of the spindle versus behind the spindle, and so on. So
that wheel kit axle is centered on, like, directly above the ski bolt. So the center of that wheel kit axle is the center of that ski.
Yeah.
So it's how much further back is it, the whole thing?
About 3/4 of an inch.
And just that little bit made that much of a difference, huh?
Well, no, when they moved that was more than 3/4. That was more like 1.5 or 2 inches, or it was a pretty good amount.
Close to 3 inches.
Yeah, it was a bunch.
And so then what did that translate to in riding?
Better handling, predictable ski. You know, and then our ski versus the Yeti ski, we have a deep keel just like they have, and but we don't use the hourglass shape.
Yeah, it doesn't have that parabolic design.
Yep, exactly.
And anybody who's ridden a Yeti ski, and I will attest to this, in some spring conditions can be quite treacherous, and you really gotta like kind of be on your game, because it, you know, and it's doable and you can figure it out. But I think that was one of the main tendencies with that Yeti ski. And I think probably part of it too is because, you know, freaking the guys up in Canada, they're just like always riding in such great snow.
Yeah, you know, they like, crappy snow.
Yeah, they don't have to worry about as much. They're like, what are you talking about, dude? Ski's great. I'm like, well, you're riding POW all the time, bro. Like, you know,
it's awesome in the powder.
Yeah, a little bit different. And so yeah, that it can, you know, as you're riding along, it'll want to like climb up the side and whatnot. So you made the straight design instead of that parabolic design, which I think got rid of that tendency, first of all.
Right.
Was there anything else that it did, you know, when you guys, by going to that design?
Just made it more predictable.
And you got rid of the tail on the back too.
Yeah, you can pull ours back, and the back ski is tipped up slightly. So yeah.
And honestly, Kyle, I really pushed for that design on the rear of the ski, because when you pulled out of the back of the pickup, the Yeti ski would hook under the ramp.
Yes.
So always get your buddy pushed down on the front of the ski. And I took a weed burner and some Irwin clamps, and I curled the back of a Yeti ski up.
That's awesome.
Just so I could unload my bike by myself.
Yep. I've done that. Yep. So Mark, so you create a new ski. Now let's talk about your spindle, because your spindle was very unique at the time. I mean, still is, you know, really the only other spindle that's even comparable that I've seen on the market is Rail, which came out, you know, a couple years ago after yours. And then that's really the only one that's similar in kind of the unique design of it.
Well, the big thing, Kyle, on our spindle is the rigidity it gives you. And we learned that in the snowmobile world, when we were running titanium A-arms on the front of the sled. You get a lot of feedback from the trail. It didn't handle very good. And then we went to chromoly A-arms that were stiffer, and so you got less feedback. You could go faster in the harder snow. And when we tested the spindle, it was in hard spring snow, and it truly made the bike easier to ride in the snow, because it wasn't flexing like the carbon fiber Yeti spindle that we used to run. I mean, it has some movement to it, and where this one, no movement, and it just gave you a more positive feedback.
It's a very locked in feeling, I guess, is the way I would say it. So to talk through the, and I don't want to say the naysayers, but I mean, talk through the whole, well, you know, if you hit stuff, then it doesn't flex, and then you're going to break your forks and all that. Like, walk through the thought process on why that's not the case, in your opinion.
Well, the funny thing is as your spindle folds up, so do your forks. You don't get to make the choice that, oh, I just want to ruin my spindle today. I don't want my forks to get ruined. The dynamics of that don't quite allow that decision to be made by the rider. So,
got it.
Yeah, the rigid is definitely stronger.
And not to mention a flexi spindle where it clamps to the forks it'll wrinkle the fork tubes.
Mm.
Like every single bike that we had a flexi spindle on had wrinkled fork tubes when we took it off to put tires back on in the summer.
Not always bad,
everyone.
but you
Yeah,
could
it
feel
was-
them.
it
You could
was
feel them with your
noticeable.
fingernail, and you could feel them
Yeah.
with your thumbs on the back of the fork tubes.
Yeah, and
Got
you
it.
can see it tiny, but yeah.
Interesting. So that was something that you saw and were like, hey, let's fix this. Let's make this design better. So what year was that when you came out with the spindle?
18,
or
I
19.
believe. Yeah.
Okay.
Late
So only a couple years into it, you guys were like, let's fix this.
Well,
Yeah, we've learned a lot
Yeah.
since we started.
Yeah.
and
I mean,
a lot of it was dollars and cents. You know, where do you spend the money? Because let's face it, our spindle is the most expensive spindle on the market because of the way it is made.
mhm. It's a
but-
freaking solid chunk of aluminum, basically.
Yeah,
More aluminum goes in the scrap bin from the machine than what comes out of the spindle. So,
Yeah.
And what is that? Is it 6061 or what kind is it?
it is. Yeah, 60,
And why
61.
and talk through, because I know a lot of people they don't know. I remember learning this stuff in like aircraft grade aluminum 7075, and there's another one I can't even remember. It's like a different one that is a lot less used. Yeah, talk us through
70,
why
75.
77. Yeah, so talk us through the differences. 6061 on a spindle. Why?
Because it is strong enough to do the job
How it's designed.
for what it's designed for. Theoretically, if you use 70, 75, you can use less material. This shaft is 70, 75.
Got it.
And
So it's stronger,
yeah,
or the tensile strength or whatever, right?
right. Yep, more rigid. Our new jack shaft this year is going to have a 7/16 hole. So if you pick up a rod that's 7/16 in diameter, aluminum this size, you're gonna, oh yeah, that has a little weight to it. So, that hole all the way through is gonna take that weight out, and it'll also make the shaft more rigid.
What do you mean there? Sorry, I'm not
Just
following.
The lightning hole.
It's just a lightning hole, Kyle. You can see that hole.
I see what you're saying. Rather than having a solid hole.
Correct. A solid shaft.
Or solid
Yeah,
shaft.
it'd be
Yeah,
hollow.
solid hole.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah. So you didn't have that before.
No, that's new for this year.
Okay. And how much weight does that remove?
Few ounces, but
A few ounces, yeah.
But it's
And they're
rotational.
always rotating.
Yep. Every
you
little
always
bit
got to
helps.
remember pennies add up to dollars, so ounces add up to pounds. If you can shed a little here and there, eventually you're going to get somewhere.
Yeah. So that's new for this year. So, and then let's see. So you got your spindle, and then I would just say overall, and then talk through the drivers and stuff too, because I remember you had a video a while ago. Which, guys, after this, we'll post up some of the videos that Mark has, and I think they're all on your website, where you're showing like the new drivers you made and the way that they work, and how they're. I'll let you say it, Mark.
Yeah, Kyle, even we were amazed at how much difference our anti-ratchet drivers
You're
make.
upside down.
Yeah, Sly Dog builds our drivers for us.
And so what about them that's unique that you're saying?
You can run your track a little looser because of the part that drives in the on the clips,
The
extrovert part,
Got it.
and as well as the involute drive.
Got
So
it.
they're
And
more
not to
efficient.
mention the process, how they're made, they stay perfectly square, so you don't ever have like an out around driver or get a little side to side.
Okay.
Yeah, I think got a video running them in the lathe, and Sly Dog does an excellent
Yeah,
job.
I saw that. That's a great video. It really shows that there's like it's not moving at all.
Yeah,
Or wobbling, I should say.
right. Yeah, because they'll do this,
Mm-hmm.
and this shaft is also 70/75.
Got it. So that's and that's different than the others.
I don't know if everybody else is using steel, or I know that Yeti has used titanium in the past. on their shafts. We used to on our snowmobiles, but then we discovered like on a jack shaft, it would flex too much because of the primary clutch is pulling so hard on the secondary clutch that it was actually flexing, and you would actually lose some efficiency. So then we went to gun drilled chrome moly on our snowmobiles for a jack shaft because it maintained its rigidity better than the titanium did. The titanium was lighter, but it flexed too much. So we got away from that on our jack shaft.
What's the overall weight then of your kit then this year, and how much weight have you reduced?
Well, we
haven't had one completely built yet with all the new components, so we haven't weighed it yet. But as soon as we get one done, we'll set it right on the scale and
see where it's at.
And
you guys, go ahead.
I'm sorry. We're estimating, the track clips is 1 pound. The new tunnel fuel storage system is going to be somewhere between 2 to 4 pounds, depending. So, and the most significant thing about our fuel storage system that we've designed is we've moved it about 6 inches further forward on the kit.
Yeah, do you want to show us that? Like, can we?
Yeah. Yeah, Kyle. So let's go ahead and grab that, Cameron. So this is
an old one.
Yeah, this is our fuel
storage system. We'll show the old one. Here's kind of the old. This is how you used to have it, right?
Yep. Perfect. This is the new design.
Okay.
And so this jug is lighter than the Rotopax jug. Now you can see the strap's not hooked to that. Well, how's that jug staying on that? Well, it's like made for it. So
that's cool. What?
Yeah, there's a channel in the bottom of the jug that saddles perfectly on the one that we have built into our mount.
Wait, so this jug, is that made? You guys made that then?
No, we didn't. It took a long time, but we finally found the jug that we wanted. And then, of course, we've got the nice buckle design here.
Yes, I'm personally not a fan of the Rotopax because I feel like I'd always get snow in there, and I'm trying to like freaking.
Oh yeah,
I know. We all fought them.
And those jugs they're pretty heavy.
They're heavy.
Yeah. So so walk us through this. What do you got going on here?
So what we have going on here is different exhaust systems. This is adjustable, and then all you do is tighten the bolts. Once you get it where you want it on your particular bike, then you tighten them to where you'll have clearance on your exhaust.
Oh, yeah. So, I'm sure plenty of you guys have seen the melted jugs or the burned jugs.
Yeah, nobody wants to be that guy. To be riding that Roman candle, but at any rate, we moved that weight. We decreased the amount of weight and we moved it further forward, so it's more under the rider. And by doing that, it makes it feel much lighter for the rider.
I will say that was one of the things I loved about the Yeti design. Right, is their gas can is so far underneath and it's like 3.3 gallons or whatever, but it helps obviously not having it sitting way out there.
Right. And we have 2-gallon jugs and 3-gallon jugs in the exact same design, and they both fit exactly on that mount as just as good as the other. And then
let me ask you one quick thing about the mount. I saw that, and whether it plays out or not, what about snow getting stuck in there? I mean, I guess it's probably pretty easy just to like kind of use your hand and get it out of there.
Well, the jug will occupy the space until you pull it out.
That's true, yeah. Until you pull it out.
So, I mean, if you went and rode your snow bike a whole bunch while your gas jug's sitting there, you're going to have to clean it off.
Well, and I was just thinking, I don't know what it is, but the Yeti kit, you'll go ride, you'll take it out of there. But for some reason, I can never get that damn thing back in there without like cleaning it out all the way, even though all I did was take the jug out. So yeah, that makes sense. Right. So it's probably, I like the mechanical lock of it because it doesn't move side to side at all. And then the strap is cinching it down.
Right. Yep. Exactly.
Who thought that up? Who thought that design up?
It was a collaborative effort of all of us, you know.
Hey, we're a
That's
team
cool.
here. We're not.
Yeah, we're not.
There's no
Yeah.
solo.
I thought maybe somebody got the beers for that. Like, yeah, dude, Cameron came up with that one. That was all. He was laying in bed at night thinking, how can we make this better?
I got a good idea every few years, Kyle. So
nice. Okay, so new gas setup. That's cool, and it moves it how much further forward?
About 6 inches.
I don't think it's quite 6 inches. It's 3 to 4. I don't know. We haven't threw a tape on it yet.
Okay.
Well, if you look at that,
every man has a different idea of what 6 inches is.
Yeah. I got it. Oh, that's funny shit. So, and also I know some people probably might be thinking, they're like, well, isn't the bike going to hit it? But no, there's no soft strut in there. So that it doesn't move once the kit's in there. All the suspension is done in the actual skid itself, which we need to talk about suspension, by the way. We can't finish this without suspension. So
yeah, it does have a slight amount of movement with our compliant link rod, but we took that into account with the amount of clearance that we gave it and so on. With
Got
where
it.
we mounted.
So what's next? What are you holding there in your hand then?
The new tunnel rear grab bar design.
Yeah, I like that. That is sexy.
So
it looks like a transformer or something. It looks super badass.
Along with our new graphics on there.
Yeah. Along with our new wraps, Dynamic Designs out of Lewiston, Idaho, is
really Lewiston. That's my old stomping grounds. I grew up there.
Yeah, nice,
that's awesome.
Yeah, very high
sweet
vinyl. We had some failures with some wraps in the past, and so we're looking forward to not having that problem any longer.
What was the purpose of this new design?
Well, you know how you guys like to do flip turns, and you know when you wheelie the bike up.
Yeah.
I've wadded several of our old tunnels out.
Well,
just doing flip turns,
break out the back corner and so on. And so this tapered, it's tapered at 45. We also shorten it up. The old tunnel's about 2.5 inches further rearward, and then that grab bar, like the one you bent, Kyle, that's right. It's right above it. Sticking,
and you can hook the back of your knee on it when you ghost ride your bike out from under you out of a stuck hole, and that hurts.
Yeah. And Orion has a lot to say about that a while back. Yeah, our good buddy. And so I told him, we'll get to it. Well, Orion, we finally got to it, and this is what it looks like, buddy.
Yeah.
So, and
dude.
Yeah, we only have in black right now, but we're going to match the chassis colors. And so we'll have some red and orange and blue and so on. In the future.
So new tunnel, lighten the track clips up. Let's see.
I think while we're on this, show them or prototype.
Yeah, show us.
It's not pretty, but it gives you an idea of where everything's at on the bike.
Okay, let's see it. Hopefully we don't lose you guys here. Oh, okay. Ooh, I like it, dude. That looks really cool. And you know what else? As I'm looking at it, it gives you a little bit more surface area to like mount anything on there.
Yeah, exactly. And then with the Pelican case, we moved it forward a few inches, and then it opens from the front now instead of from the back of the kit.
Yep. No, it looks nice. I like it. Yeah, that gas can's way tucked in there.
So, yeah, and that's the bigger jug too.
Got it. That's what everybody needs anyways. You need to have big jugs to snowbike.
Well, when you got a little gas tank, you need a big jug.
Yeah, true. So I think, is there anything else missing here new that you guys are working on? Because a couple of things that we didn't even cover is the unique, like the way the track is set up. It's very oval, versus a little bit more flat. Also, people were asking here on some of the questions. Jeff said, is that a 120? What size is that?
That's a 120 kit.
120. So was there anything else new that we're missing, guys, that you wanted to cover on that?
We redesigned our bike adapter for this year to make it more universal. So it'll be the solid billet unit, but we trimmed it up and made it to where you put stainless steel bushings in there to adapt to each kit. So we'll have a kit of bushings to adapt to all the different bikes.
Okay.
So
it's more universal.
Yeah, streamline that process without compromising any strength or handling or anything like that. So
got it. Hell yeah. I mean, I don't know what you could have improved, honestly. So I mean, I was like, cool. What did you do? Like, you know, it was great. I don't know what else we could have done. You guys could have done differently. So I'm stoked to ride one and see how it feels. So one important thing I think for everyone to understand listening, you know, CMX has 3 sizes, the 120, 129, 137. I ran a 129 on, that's a gas, by the way, EC 300 2-stroke enduro bike. Now mine are a little hopped up. I've got some flashes done on the ECUs. I ran a motocross flash actually. And then I did the high compression head just on from Silver Turbos. But I will say, I mean, I ran 300s because I wanted to see how the kits did with a lower quote unquote powered bike versus the 450s. Right. And I actually I prefer personally the 300s, just my riding style, the way I ride. I like the 300s. But that being said, you know, when you ask Mark, like, what's the best size to get? You know, we went with the 129 because we wanted to have all 129s. So walk us through your track lengths and also what you guys, you know, like and why your 120 can outperform a 129.
Yeah, there's a lot of reasons for that. A big one is the track efficiency that we talked about earlier. Our track actually propels the vehicle forward instead of displacing the snow. We learned that efficiency early on when we first got our tracks. We had a customer that he's about 300 pounds and he was on a 137. And that was of course the better Yeti track of the day. And so we just put a CMX 137 on his kit and, you know, he struggled. It wasn't as much fun. And so we switched him to a 129 and he's going places he couldn't go on that 137. So the 137, we kind of, you know, we discontinued it. If somebody absolutely has to have one, we can build it for them. But like we have some guys up in Canada that, you know, they bought what we called our convertible. So they got a 120 and then we sold them rails and a track, which they could convert their track in a couple hours to a 137. So, you know, when they wanted to be the king of the mountain, they'd put the 137 on in the chest deep powder and be the only guys at the top of the hill. So that's an option. But, you know, guys up to 250 pounds are riding our 120s and absolutely loving them. And they perform very, very well. You know, it's funny because everybody compares our 120 to the competition's 129
and their 3-inch tracks and all that.
Yeah. And a 120 is how much lighter, you know, how much lighter is that track than a 129 even?
I think the track itself's maybe
3.5.
I thought it was only a couple pounds.
It is. It's 1.5 pounds. I'm sorry. It's 1.5 pounds
yeah.
lighter.
But also you got rail material and longer tunnel. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's a handful of pounds, Kyle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Overall 3 to 4.
But yeah, with the efficiency of our kit though, you build track speed so fast that the 120 is able to get up on the snow with the longer tracks.
Yeah. Well, and that's, I know one of the reasons I'm going to run the 120 on the 300s just because it being lighter too. And, you know, I think it's going to going to crush. I know it's going to be
not
so
to mention the fun factor.
Yeah.
You know, there's so much more playful and our 120s, you know, on the nastier, steeper climbs, you got to get up over the handlebars to keep the front.
You got to work for it.
Yeah. And it's not all our kit wheelie's not in the suspension itself. It actually gets on the back part of the track when you're doing a wheelie on our kit. It's not just all the suspension moves and makes it feel like you're wheelie. And no, you're actually getting that front half of the track up off the ground.
Yeah,
and what? Oh, go ahead, Mark.
I was going to say that's what Cameron just said is really significant, because a lot of the kits they go, oh, this thing really wheelies nice. Well, like Cameron just explained, it's not really wheeling so much as the rear suspension is staying down and the front's coming up. And so, the track's staying more on the ground than, like Cameron said, ours, when it wheelies, that track is coming up out of the snow.
Well, let me ask you something on that, because I remember at one point having some conversations on that where they were saying that it's better keeping the track on the snow to propel it forward versus bringing the track up. Now, and that sounds, in theory, it sounds fine. Now, in actual real world conditions, like I never found like I was not moving forward when I was wheeling your kit up a mountain, like I would, be wheeling the shit out of that thing, going through trees or whatever. So walk us through that. Why does that work so well versus, having the track on the ground?
Well, it's not compromising your ability to climb, so our kit's playful, but you don't have to go through and make adjustments to it for certain conditions you're riding in. It's like, oh, I want to go climb this really steep hill. Let me tweak my shocks so it climbs. Put it in climb mode. Go up the hill. Okay, then you get up to the top and you want to play around and pop wheelies and hit jumps. Well, you're stuck in your climbing mode, so it's not as fun to ride in those conditions. So you go through, reset it to do all that, and the idea is to just have it all around great.
All around mountain climbing. Well, and I remember as I talking to Mark, I was like, well, how do I adjust it to make it so that it's a little more planted? And, he walked me through that. And the funny thing was, like, I just never did it, because I'm like, well, I like it just like this, because for all around playing, it's just fun. Like, you can climb. I was climbing what I was wanting to. I was playing, and doing everything I needed to. So walk us through now your suspension and why that's unique and different and does what it does on this kit.
Our suspension's truly not really that unique. It's it's existing snowmobile technology that we've made improvements upon, so we can't, we didn't design that suspension setup, but it was one that we've seen work great.
Well, within the snowbike industry until Mountaintop came out last year, I mean, this was the only one that was like this, with having the front and the rear like that. And now I think, you and Mountaintop are the only two that have this suspension. They're not the exact same, of course, but why use this type of suspension instead of, the other type in all the other kits that we see?
Well, on our snowmobiles, we ran a coupled rear suspension. So once you got to a certain part of the stroke on the rear half of the suspension, it would start pulling, spring rate, it'd start working the front rail shock to make it climb better, instead of, it wouldn't work.
Talk through, a lot of people have no idea what you're talking about, right? Coupled versus uncoupled. So walk through.
Right. Yeah, I know.
Yeah. No. It's good though, because that's good shit. Yeah. So walk through, what does that mean exactly?
Well, I don't know if everyone's familiar with the K-Mod rear suspension in the snowmobile world, but I've
never even heard of that.
They're awesome.
Yeah, they're pretty kick-ass snowmobile suspension.
Oh, these guys? K-Mod, these dudes?
Yep.
You're not looking. I'm sitting here looking at it. You guys aren't looking at it. Let me show you here.
So you see the billet aluminum block behind the rear torque arm?
Right here?
Yep. Yeah, exactly. You can't see where I'm pointing on the screen.
Yeah.
The scissor runs into that, and then when it does, it ramps up the spring. It ramps up. I don't know
what it borrows from the front.
Yeah, it starts borrowing from the front shock at that point.
Oh, okay.
So it pulls it up instead of letting that front end drop down, which would in turn make it wheelie more. or more playful, but it keeps it on, helps it get on the snow. It works way better in softer conditions.
Climbs really good.
And climbing.
Whoa,
So
that was weird.
we're not coupled.
And so why we're not coupled?
Oh yeah,
is
coupled versus
not
uncoupled.
putting near the horsepower to the snow that we were on the snowmobiles. You know, we're a quarter of the horsepower, and with the bikes, and also wanted to make it more playful and more fun. And within our suspension design, we don't compromise track tension anywhere in the stroke of the suspension. So it's never tightening or loosening the track.
Yeah, it's maintaining the same tightness of the track.
Yep.
Which continues to me, like you were talking about running a loose track. It's very freewheeling. I mean, very, very freewheeling. I remember, Cameron, you guys posted a video a while ago, and you're like sitting there, like, you know, hitting the paddles, and it's just, you know, moving very easily. And people are like, well, is this connected? Is that connected? You know, is the belt connected? It's like, no, it moves that easy. Like, and I think that was the thing. Everybody who rode this, especially when we were pulling them out of the trailer or pulling it, you know, they're like, whoa, that thing, I mean, it'll freaking just, you know, freewheel almost out the back of the trailer. And so walk through that design, because your design of the track, unless I'm mistaken, it's very, very rounded. And I think now Rail, because of how their suspension is, theirs isn't in there either. But, you know, I think yours is probably one of the most rounded, you know, tracks out there, like the whole system, right?
Yep. And a lot of that has to do with driver diameter, you know, the drivers that run the track. So you make that smaller, you're wrapping that track around a tighter wheel, and it makes, because the track wants to be round, so as close to round as you can make it, the more efficient it's going to be.
Kind of what the track wants to be round just due to the design of it. And so by keeping it in that shape, go ahead.
And centrifugal force,
right,
is trying to make it
round. Yep. Got
exactly. it. So like Cameron said, the larger diameter rear idler wheels and drivers, you know, help it be happier and roll freer.
So drivers, I mean, it all adds up. And that's where I think it's one of those things. It's like, and that's why guys, like, as a snow biker, if you want to come and try this stuff out, right? And especially this season, I really want to try and get more snow bikers up here to ride with us. Because you can come here and in a day, bring some buddies and like ride all the kits, because at the end of the day, we all have differences and things that we like and whatever. And you never really know until you ride it. So that's why for me, it was like, I want to get on the snow. I want to ride the kits. I want to see how they feel. And it's one of those things. It's like you ride it and you're like, wow, this feels a lot different than, you know, the other kits. I think, you know, that was my big takeaway, was just, it felt a lot different. And I really enjoyed the playfulness of the kit. And I think that's where a lot of dirt bikers, they really enjoy that. And there's other kits too that are playful. Like, don't get me wrong. I think actually, you know, to some degree, they're all playful, and you can tweak and adjust them and whatever to get them to do what you want, right? We're not saying like, oh, you can't wheelie and you can't do this or that or have a light front end. It's just, all the things combined make for a unique feeling, you know, kit, and they all feel a little bit different.
Yep, they're all unique.
And you got to find that balance that you want, performance and everything else for riding style. And that's what I'm really happy with where we ended up, is, you know, we can hit that mark pretty easily. And
so walk through, Mark, because you're kind of unique in the sense of you don't really have dealers out there, so to speak. I think you guys are working with one now in Canada. Talk through the approach of the kind of direct to consumer versus trying to work with dealers, because I think there's some really good advantages to doing that, you know, and I think there's, you know, some, you know, disadvantages as well that I'm sure you have experienced or people have expressed. It's nice to be able to walk into your dealer to, you know, just get the part. But, you know, at the end of the day, with, you know, being able to ship stuff too, it's like, well, in 2 days you can have it or whatever. So walk through that model there, if you don't mind, of direct to consumer.
Yeah, it's not right or wrong. It's just different. And we chose the direct marketing because that's what we did with the snowmobiles. Another reason, I mean, we showed you some of our expensive parts. I mean, these parts are, in order to stay price competitive, if we went through a dealer and put a dealer margin in there, whatever that margin would be, would of course be passed on to the consumers. And there again, not to say that's right or wrong.
Right.
I would love to have, dealers that we could work with that would, actually get the true story across. The other thing that bugs me is you walk into a dealer and you've got a guy that doesn't even ride a snow bike. So he really doesn't know whether to sell you this brand or this brand, whatever they got the most profit margin on, that's the one I'm going to sell him because at the end of the day, that's my paycheck.
Yeah. And I think, we saw just like kind of that was, now Alan's approach is like he said, he's like, we're only working with snow bikers. Like these guys know snow bikes, right? Because just to your point, Mark, it's like, you want the guy who's like, yeah, I ride it. I know what it feels like. I know, what to look for, etc. So yeah, I mean, it's pretty apparent you've got some pretty high end parts on there. So I can appreciate, wanting to maintain, that profitability, because at the end of the day, without profit, you ain't doing this. You guys, I mean, it's just the three of you, right? You guys, there's nobody else that you guys are other than your wife, I know, and family is helping.
Yeah. And we have, we don't build and do everything. Obviously, we have CNC shops that build parts for us, and some welding shops and so on that do a few things for us. And but we do all of the R&D, all of the assembly. Everything is hand built here by us, mainly these guys, because I'm usually this guy or this guy, or keeping things flowing.
I get that. What's going to be the cost then? Do you guys already have the cost this year for the kits? Is it going to be the same or
same? We didn't raise our prices. We had some parts and stuff that went up in price, but we chose to keep our pricing at the same level it was last year. So what is on the website right now is current pricing.
Yeah, I'll show everybody real quick. You can see. So you've got the 120 kit, 86, 85. And is that including fit kit?
Yeah, that's including everything to turn your motorcycle into a snow bike. What it doesn't include are the accessories, which is the wheel kit and the fuel storage system and the Pelican case. But everything else is included.
Yep. So for those of you that ask, you do get the spindle and you do get the ski with it. So
Yep. And a spare belt.
And a spare belt. So here's the wheel kit. So you can kind of see the pricing of all this stuff, guys. What else? Is there anything? Well, I guess you guys already did your
new stuff,
snow check or whatever whenever it was.
Yeah, last spring.
Yeah, last spring. Yeah. So yeah, if you guys want the kits, then it's like, you pick up the phone, you call you guys. And, one thing that Mark and team do is a lot of people will come in there and they'll put the kits on them for them and, get them all dialed in so they're ready to go.
Yeah, we do a lot of full builds for people. And, one thing I really appreciate is the people that our customers, that keep coming back and trust us to do, build them the bike that we would want to ride. So,
and so a lot of people ask this question. I already know the answer, but what's your guys' favorite kind of kit bikes out there that you guys like?
KTM Husky Gas 450 race bikes.
Yeah, the MX bikes.
Yeah.
Get the power to the ground as fast as you can.
Yeah, close ratio transmission.
Violent, abrupt power delivery.
Well, this year, I'm throwing you guys on the 300 at least so you can ride one of mine and see what you think.
I did a whole season on one of those, Kyle. It's not going to be that new to me.
You did? Went last year?
Yeah, I did too. Yep.
Last year you guys did?
No, that
was 2017.
Well, yeah, a lot of this changed, man. Mine's freaking hopped up, dude. So
I know.
Well, we got brand new 300s that we ride on dirt and love those
nice.
bikes.
Yeah.
But there are just a couple little things that you do to make them even better than the way they come out of the box.
Yeah. I'm running motocross pipe. Anyways, we're working on some shit. They're gonna rip, dude. I'm pumped. Not to mention we got the BRC 500 too, so that's a whole other can of worms of 70 freaking 5 horsepower, 2-stroke. So that's a lot of fun. Go ahead, Mark.
A whole new level of fun.
Yeah. So I know we got Orion hanging there in the background. We wanted to bring him on real quick. So talk through real quick, Orion, and if you're ready, Orion, we'll bring you on here. Talk through real quick before we bring him on. Who's Orion and kind of what's been his role in helping kind of where you guys are?
Orion's been a great asset. Hey, buddy.
How's it going, guys?
Good.
Man.
So my story about Orion is he's a believe it when he sees it, experiences it kind of guy. And so Orion called me up and he wanted us to put a CMX track on his timber sled Arrow. And I said, yeah, no problem. We can, first he just wanted to buy one. Just wanted to buy the track. We were going to ship it.
Yeah.
And then he calls again. We talk some more and he goes, well, what if I come down there? Would you guys put that track on for me? And I go, yeah, we really don't do that, but yeah, we'll do that for you. And so, and then another few days, whatever goes by and this and that. Well, yeah. So then why don't you pick up from there, Orion?
Well, yeah. And Orion, tell us real quick, where are you from and what's your background in snow biking?
Well, I live up near Whistler, BC in Canada. And my background's in snowboarding, actually. And we all got into snowmobiles for access to better snow when Whistler was getting too crowded, back in the early 90s. And, I eventually got into snow bikes. That's another story. But
what year did you start snow biking?
2015.
Okay, so you've been in it for kind of since the beginning too.
Well, close.
Yeah, close.
And then my riding buddy Malcolm, he's got a couple years on me. Actually, I remember seeing him up on the mountain riding around on his bike, wondering who's this kid. Like, I think he was probably 18, and he just popped out of the bushes on this snow bike, and we're all on sleds still. And little did I know where we'd be going in the future. But
yeah. So you guys were still sleds, and then what was it that kind of brought you to the snow bike scene?
That's another story. I used a snow bike as a marketing tool for a brand I was doing. And we built this, it was actually a timber sled, and we built it to gain attention to our eyewear brand we were marketing at the time. And
okay.
And I jumped on the bike just to see what it was like, and I'd never ridden it, and got hooked real fast. Just realizing the lines I could make through the woods on it, it just blew my mind. And you guys all understand. So.
Yeah, let me ask you this, Orion. Being a fellow snowboarder, I started snowboarding when I was a freshman in high school, and it was like my jam. I loved it. And the second I hopped on a snow bike, I'm like, dude, this is like snowboarding with a motor. Like, it was just all the things that you love about snowboarding and dirt biking combined.
It is. And that's the thing about the CMX geometry too, is it's just you're sitting over the track more, so it's just a more natural and fluid feeling machine that is more like snowboarding, especially when you're descending. Like, I drop laps with my snowboarding buddies all the time on my bike, and it just feels so natural to do descent turns on it, because you're just the machine's so tucked in together, Yeah.
So you come down to Mark. Why did you want to get one of his tracks?
Well, I had a timber sled mountain horse, and it was a great machine. The short track was my favorite. I had the long track and the short track, and I eventually realized that I liked the short track a lot better, but I just wanted it to perform better. I tried the RO, and then I was pushed into a 129 when those first came out, and it's just, it felt so long, and it didn't really handle the way I wanted it to. And I kept hearing all this talk about the CMX kits on the Facebook pages, but no one had them up here at the time. So
yeah, I mean, you guys probably had never even really seen them up there in Canada, huh?
Not in real life, no.
Yeah.
No. So I jumped in my camper and trailer and came down to see Mark, and like I was just going to buy the track and put it on my RO, and it turned into buying a kit. And then, you know, before I left Montana, I bought a 120 as well, because that was so much fun to ride. So
yeah,
yeah,
because you rode one of his kits, and you were riding your timber sled kit with the 120 track on it,
right.
So you got to compare the two.
Put that track on your aero kit, Orion.
We never did. We ended up selling it.
You bought a used kit before you came and even saw us, and we put that on your bike, and we went
That's
riding.
right. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's right.
And
So
like,
so you ride
120 also.
That's hilarious. So you ride Mark's kit, and what was kind of your first thing then of why you're like, well, this is a lot different?
It was what I wished my mountain horse was capable of, to be honest.
Well, you had an Arrow though. Oh, you hadn't even ridden the Arrow.
I had ridden the Arrow. I had the Arrow, and I had the mountain horse
right.
120. And I actually liked my mountain horse 120 better because it was short. You know what I mean?
I still have one of those, dude. I love that kit.
It was a phenomenal kit in its day, you know? So I had nothing bad to say about that. It just, I just wanted it to, you know, wanted it to climb better, float better.
Mm-hmm.
And when I jumped on the CMX 120, when I was in the crazies with those guys, it actually, I couldn't believe it. It kind of scared me a little bit, to be honest. You know, like it was so light in the front end, and going downhill, you had to use the brakes going down a hill.
Yeah.
You know, because it had no resistance to slow you down. So it took a bit of getting used to, you know, but I'm hooked now, that's for sure. So
yeah, you can really you know, when you're going downhill, you just got to lay it over more, right? You just slow down. Like that's what I love about that kit is I found that I could just really hammer the carving in the turns, you know, due to just the way the track felt, but also the way the ski felt. So you bought the 120, and then you also got a bunch of buddies up there into it as well on the CMX, right?
Well, that's the thing I learned about them real quick is that as soon as someone tries a CMX, they tend to buy one. You know, so it's kind of you know, you see pictures and you can talk on the internet and you can talk about this and that and all the performance, this and the other thing, but you know, one demo is usually all it takes, and then you know someone's wanting to buy one. So
yeah. So how big is you guys got a big crew up there now that's all rocking the CMX?
Yeah, there's at least a dozen of us in my immediate area that have switched over. So,
and then and now you guys have a deal. Is there a dealership right up in Canada? I can't remember if you're working with some folks.
Mark?
Yeah, Assault Snowbikes was a little late to the game with committing, so they're probably going to be. We're going to try and get a kit to them right away this season so that they can get people on it and ride it. But realistically, as far as numbers delivering to them, it's going to be December or January before we can deliver any numbers because we're right in the middle of our production commitments that we've already made to people and to get their kits built and done. So, but yeah, Jeff has a really neat thing going up there with, you know, with his snowbike business, and we look forward to working with him.
And where's he located?
So he's in Alberta, right?
Yeah, northern Alberta, I believe.
Alberta. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, anything else, Orion, that you wanted to say before we wrapped up that? And by the way, guys, everybody listening, go ahead and start posting your questions here. I've got a whole bunch. I think we got like freaking 15 questions to go through, but start posting your questions while Orion's finishing up here. Grand Prairie, David said, is where he's at. Grand Prairie, does that sound right?
Yeah.
Okay. That's right. I keep going back to this funny story about because we were talking about how my background's in snowboarding. And, we used to use our sleds to go snowboarding back in the 90s. And my friends would be up there filming their snowboard parts. They're, sponsored by the companies and whatnot. And we're all up there one day, and all of a sudden, I think this is 1999. And all of a sudden what was that?
Oh, I said back in the day, right?
Yeah. So these guys show up on these crazy mod sleds that are all like polished aluminum tunnels and higher, 99, the bars weren't very tall on mountain sleds, and they had like big bar risers on them and turbos, and they were just walking up the hills. Like we were like, whoa, who are these guys? Like, and they were from Montana, and we were all just blown away. It made such an impression on us. And my one buddy talked to these guys, and afterward he's like, yeah, those sleds have belt drives instead of a chain case, and that's part of the reason why they're able to climb so well. And we're just blown away. So that's in 1999. And if you had told me back then that in 2023 I'd be riding around on one of those, a CMX Snowbike, I wouldn't even believe you.
Yeah.
So and to this day, I think it was Mark, but I never actually met him. So yeah,
that's awesome.
Kind of a funny.
Was that you, Mark?
Yeah, I was up there.
That's awesome. These crazy mountain extreme guys from Montana freaking riding hopped up sleds.
Ultimate mod sleds just blew our minds. Yeah.
Dude, I love it, man. Well, thanks for your insight. And so real quick, what was you said you were riding a Snowbike as kind of a marketing stint for an eyewear company?
Yeah. Northern Lights Optic is my sunglasses brand.
Nice.
And we built a 1979 Yamaha HL 500 with a timber sled on it as a way to introduce our brand to our target.
1979.
Yeah, air cooled. Yeah, that's like awesome. An XT motor. And that was a way to introduce our eyewear brand to,
because you kind of got some of these like retro kind of
exploration awesome. Kind of vibe. And nice. So we wanted the cafe racer market, and we felt that the old Yamahas was a way to kind of tell a story. So if you go to bikeexif.com,
what is it called?
Bikeexif, BIKE and then EXIF, Snow Go. There's an article on
the bike build. Like that.
Bikeexif and then Snow Go, or it's Bikeexif Snowbike. And so we built this bike and shot it in the Italian Dolomites in the mountains. And
oh, I see. So it was okay. I gotcha.
There it is.
Right here. Oh, there it is.
That was my first snow bike. Yeah.
That's freaking wild, dude.
And it was just a piece of junk to ride.
Wow.
And the first time I jumped on it and rode around, I was like, oh my God, this thing is just an underpowered pile of junk.
Yeah, what is it?
I was a sledder, so I didn't understand yet.
What was the horsepower on this thing?
Oh, I think it was pretty high actually, because it was a modded out 500 4-stroke, so it's probably high 40s anyways.
Wild looking, dude. Does this thing still exist today?
That's Switzerland in the background there.
That's wild. Does this exist today? Is this still put together?
No.
Oh, I was like, I want to come ride this thing.
I have the bike part, but I sold the kit, and yeah,
that's awesome.
It sounded like somewhere between a Harley and a dirt bike. It was very loud.
Wild. Yeah. That's great. Well, cool, man. Well, thanks for jumping on and kind of sharing your insight. And yeah, it looks like everybody. So do you still own this then, Northern Lights Optic?
Yep, that's right.
That's awesome. Cool. Well, everybody check that out. Those are some slick looking sunglasses.
Mark, I still got to send you some shades. Hey, I've been meaning to.
Oh yeah.
That's awesome. Well, cool, man. Well, thanks again, Ryan. Anything else you wanted to say before you jump off?
Try a CMX. You won't be disappointed.
Hell yeah. Awesome, dude. Well, thanks, man. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course. Thanks. So guys, all right, I'll start going through the questions here. So Aaron Vaughn had asked when this was kind of in the beginning, were there any specific hurdles with the OEMs you can talk about during the production sales of your CMX sleds?
Not really, because, we were such a small manufacturer. We, built 15, 20, 30, 40 sleds was peak probably. So we weren't even enough to get on their radar mainly, but they knew we were here. They were watching, and they caught a lot of aspects, and not just our stuff, but everybody that built stuff in the aftermarket. The OEMs pretty much use them for their R&D team, and just like Skins made the airframe running boards, and
Skins made a lot of products that
got stolen. And the minimalistic seats that you see on the sleds now, that was all Skins. Before that, it was the couch.
Which Skins is gone now, right? I heard Skins.
No, they're still in existence.
Oh, okay.
But I'm not sure how many products they're producing. Not as many as they used to, obviously.
Yeah. I had heard they were gone at one
Skins
point.
protective gear. And they're the ones that built our bodywork for us, too.
They built a lot of parts
on our sleds. Built our airframe running boards and our front and rear
seats,
bumpers, and our seats.
Interesting.
Yeah, great company to work with.
Okay, so then I had another one here that actually we forgot to talk about this. It's suspension updates. Nick Burns asked, are there suspension updates for this year? I thought there were, and we glanced over it.
Mainly some bushing material we've changed, and we've got some grease irks on the rear suspension.
They will be
pivots,
greasable,
so they'll be greasable.
No squeaky.
No squeaky.
Squeaking noise. And it was funny because I'd only noticed the squeak when I'm obviously not riding. I'm like, what is that? And you're like, yeah, you just put a little grease on there, but I never even did it because it didn't matter.
Yeah, you scored it with some WD-40 if it's bugging you. Well, right away.
So, and also, what shocks do you have on there? You want to tell everybody what your guys' suspension is?
Yeah, we're using the Zebros exit shocks. Yeah, and we've changed and refined the valving, and so we're real happy. Fergus builds all the rear suspensions, or the majority of them, and like he said, we set the suspension up as per rider weight, and so we know what spring rates to put on and this and that, and have them dialed for them.
Is there anything unique or specific about the particular suspension that you guys use? I mean, are these is it snowmobile? Is it designed specifically for your guys' setup?
Yeah, it is absolutely, because of the constraints of the shortness of a snow bike. We had to change several aspects of bring that over, please, Cameron. We had to change several aspects so that it wouldn't hit, like the rear idler wheels, the rear scissor when it pivots.
Oh, here we go. That's a good one. Yeah.
Area, right,
let's look at this
right here, because this will roll back right in between these wheels, and so that's unique. And
these top idlers are new. Well, they were new mid-season last year, and they got a lot stronger, better bearing in there, a little wider diameter, so these shouldn't wear out as quickly.
No, they'll, yeah.
And, well, mine didn't wear out after 170 hours, so
that's pretty good.
Yeah. And that was not easy on it.
Wears out eventually.
Yeah, of course. Anything else on this system?
But we can't build something that doesn't wear.
Yes, you can't break. Right. Yeah, you got to maintain that. Yeah, what would you say is, stuff for guys every season? What should they do based off of, hours or whatever on the kit to kind of go through and look at?
That's a really good question. We really don't have the one single item that's weak. Like I say, you can break anything. But we, just like your Hyfax, Kyle, they're still not even down to the wear mark yet.
Right.
And we sell maybe we've sold a handful of Hyfax over since we've been building Snowbike kits. So, they last so long.
And
You
it's
know,
just
and it's
because the track can be ran pretty loose, so there's just hardly any friction on it.
right. The approach angle and so on is so gentle.
And that's a good point that you made, running the track looser. It's easier on all the bearings. It's easier on your Hyfax, but also that relates into belt tension. We don't run our belts super tight. So if you run your belt tight, it side loads those bearings. You know, it's trying to pull those shafts closer together. And same with your chain. If you run your chain too tight, you can get premature bearing failure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's definitely that. There's definitely the you know, kind of line of too tight, too loose, right?
Yep, exactly.
What? Oh, Mark, I know one thing too that I just thought of something as I was looking at these other questions. Can you guys grab your? I guess it would be the frame itself, because it is just like a freaking. I mean, that thing. There's no movement in there. I'd like to, if you could show one of those. Yeah, these things are. I mean, that's and it's very light too. So walk us through this design here.
Well, you can see that everything is square. So all of these brackets are machined inside and out. So they're water jetted first, and then these are machined in a mill, so they're exactly the same plane where the side plate bolts on, and it's square front to rear. We can stack up 30 of these things and butt them up against each other, and there's no air gaps. They're dead straight and true.
Yeah.
So, that's another thing, I mean, our parts are a little more expensive because of the way that we build them.
Yeah, that's that whole structure there. I'd love to, and I don't know if you guys have ever done this, but put some sort of like stress test on it to understand the longitudinal rigidity of, that thing, because it takes a lot. It takes a beating.
Right. That was done in the computer simulation and
Really?
solid. Yeah. That was done. Those stress analysis were done.
I mean, has anyone broke one of those, like, by just right? Like, I mean, has it broke? Because I broke some shit, but I'd be curious if
not that I know of. Not that I know of. I don't know of anybody that has broken one of these. There's been a time or two where people have had to replace these because they hit a rock with the front of the kit and actually broke the bolts that hold this together because the side plate got bent. But other than that, the whole chassis, no.
Yeah.
No, nobody's, to my knowledge, nobody's bent one.
Yeah, it's pretty solid. Clint asked a question. He just said, how have sales progressed over the years, and what do you foresee for the coming years? It's a good question.
Well, we're always trying to improve and make things better, and so we'll do a lot of R&D this year, and see what we come up with for changes for the coming seasons. But nothing really big on the radar right now.
Yeah, well, we're just not going to talk about it.
Well, that's what I'm saying, but
right.
Saying.
We're just cut right to it. We got big ideas for next year, and we're not talking about it right now.
Yeah, you got to keep it. You got to keep something there in the back burner, man, for sure.
Yeah.
Well, I'm excited to see what else you guys have, in the works there. What was the other one that? Let me pull this up here. Oh, Jeremy, that was cool. He just said, "Good to see the nicest guys in snow biking."
What a guy!
Hope to ride with you guys again this coming season. That's awesome.
I have to say, Jeremy's nicer than we are, though.
He actually is. Yeah, he is.
Dude,
in Hawaii, I think that he had something on Maui, and that may not be there anymore. So our prayers
Jeez.
go out to him and the others affected by that.
So much craziness there. Dale Flatten, he said, "This is awesome. My dad, Bud, started it out on a Snowhawk. Then he converted to a timber sled. Now he's riding a CMX and loving life. He's 80 years old. Dude, that is, I hope that's me. I hope I can ride when I'm 80. That's freaking awesome."
He's Bud's definitely an inspiration, and he is a fun guy to be around. Yeah, him and Dale is his son, of course. They come out and went for a ride with us up in the crazies, and we had a great time up there. Yeah,
That's
80 years
awesome.
old, and I go, Bud, you know, we can get out of here. He goes, no, I'm fine. I'll just hang out here. You guys go do that, and then we'll go. You know, so he just had a ball.
That's all. Jason Lusk, he must have rode with him. He said Bud can ride. That's awesome.
Yeah, he can.
So what's your guys' thoughts on in terms of, again, I know you're holding things close to your chest. I don't expect you to like say it all now, but I'm just curious, have you guys ever or know of anyone who's ever ran one of the 3-inch tracks on your kits?
No,
not that I know of.
No.
Gotcha. No, I was just curious.
Yeah. We do ride with guys with 3-inch tracks,
but not on our kit.
Yeah, not on your kit. Mark's gonna go die over there.
Hey, it's past Kyle.
Yeah, I know it's late. He was like, "Man, this is gonna be late," but that's okay. Well, was there anything else any of you guys could think of? Well, first of all, thanks everybody for joining. If you had any other questions, feel free to throw those on there. But guys, yeah, was there anything else you could think of or wanted to talk about before we wrap it up?
I just want to thank everybody for coming on and watching and listening tonight. And thank you, Kyle.
Yeah.
Excuse me while I'm hucking up a lung here. Yeah, thanks for your contribution and so on and putting this together.
Problem. Absolutely, man. No, I think this is all about, you know, helping this industry grow. I think everybody's in it, you know, really together to some degree right now. And there's a lot of cool, smaller companies right now that, you know, you guys are snow bikers, you love snow biking. And at the end of the day, we all want to get better and to improve. And we all want to ride, you know, fun stuff that doesn't break and that, you know, lasts a long time, because there's nothing worse than riding mid-season and having shit break that, you know, you gotta, I'm down for 2 weeks or whatever. So, that was the other thing, Mark, talking about, because you guys don't have dealers, but you guys can, I mean, you have all the parts in stock all the time. I know last year, when I needed that, you know, bolt or whatever, I mean, obviously I'm in Montana, but you know, there's 2-day shipping, whatever. So you can ship anything you want. There's never a part that you're like, well, we don't have that. We got to like get this one. Like, you guys have the parts ready to go.
We do, Kyle. We have everything in stock here. So it's never a problem. And usually in state, it's 1-day shipping. So
nice.
That helps a lot too. And the other thing that I wanted to mention to everybody out there, when you talk about us little manufacturers, Kyle, you know, us and Alan and the other guys that are out there, there's room for all of us here. I mean, we can the market is large enough for all of us. So, you know, you don't have to think that everything is a fight of this company against that company. It's not. We get along great.
Yep.
So
I just want to have fun.
Yeah, we all want the same thing.
Yep.
So.
And I'll be the first to say, guys, like, you know, my background is in sales and marketing and online marketing. I've been doing this for, you know, it's crazy, almost 20 years now, thinking of, you know, 2005 when I kind of got into online marketing. And this niche, this snowbike, we talked about this on the last interview. Like, dude, we're just getting started in snow biking. You know, you've got millions and millions of dirt bikers, right, throughout the world. And I'll tell you what, like I said, every single time these guys come ride, they're like, we want to do it again, you know. And now I've got, you know, guys coming, oh, we're bringing our buddies, they're bringing their buddies, and everybody wants to snow bike. So it's just going to continue to grow. And by having the different players involved now, like to your point, Mark, like there's plenty of room, and by everybody being involved right now, like it's just going to help the industry grow, because not everybody can do everything, you know.
True story. Yeah, for sure. And I'm glad that Jamie and Kevin got Yeti back, you know.
Oh, I know.
Small company. So congratulations, guys, on pulling that one off.
Yeah. And we're going to have them on, well, at least Kevin. I'm sure Jamie will come on too. But yeah, it's awesome. It's like back in the hands of snow bikers, you know. I mean,
Right.
I'll tell you my experience when and I can say it now because they're no longer the owners, you know, but when I was working with Yeti, you know, when they were over in the East, Toronto or whatever, it was like nobody was snow bikers, you know, except there was like one guy there, and he is awesome. Guillermo, is that his name? Man, he's a freaking stud, and he rips hard, right? But he was like it. Everybody else was just kind of in Michelin, in Camso, and you know, whatever. But it's awesome to see that now it's back in the hands of like the guys that started it, and they are snow bikers.
Yeah, for sure.
Look, Kevin's on. Actually, he said we're coming riding with you guys. Hell yeah, dude! I've been talking to Kevin, and we're like, dude, we're gonna put a Montana trip together. So, dude, that will be fun. We'll get Yeti, we'll get Mountaintop, we'll get everybody together and just have a freaking shindig.
Yeah, that'd be a great day. For sure.
Yeah, dude. I'm pumped. I'm pumped for it. Well, thanks guys. Appreciate your time. It's been great getting to know you guys over, you know, the last year, and Mark, you know, talking to you for the last couple of years. Super pumped to, just do more riding and more testing of the kit. And, you know, I'll tell everybody on here, I mean, you know, as I rode throughout the season and, you know, talked to you, Mark, and was like, hey, what about this? What about that? Like, I mean, you're always very receptive and listening. And so I just appreciate that. I think that's what it takes, right? Is like you guys, you listen to your customers and you make changes if changes need made, and you're innovating, right? I mean, that's what it's going to take to just continue to move the sport forward. So yeah, guys, we're just getting started here. Like, you know, I look forward to the day when, you know, like talking to Brett Rasmussen and talking to you, I'll be like, I remember back in 2023 when we, you know, now all you guys get to go buy these snow bikes ready to go from the store. You know, we were putting that shit together, and C3 was making aftermarket part. Like, you know, that's how it's gonna be, dude. So it's exciting.
Yeah, for sure. It's gonna be a fun ride.
Hell yeah, man. It will be. And hopefully we're all 80 riding like Bud, man. What a badass.
Right.
That's the dream.
He's an inspiration for sure.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. Well, cool. Thanks again, guys. And again, appreciate everyone. Have a great rest of your evening. I know it's pretty late for a lot of you guys. So thanks for watching. Make sure again here, I'm going to post this one more time. If you guys go to this, I just posted it there. That's the Telegram link to, if you've never used Telegram, use it. It's awesome. You guys can join the group there. And it's going to be just a smaller group of, you know, us, the snow bikers. And I mean, not everybody's going to be involved in this group. So, but it'll be fun, and looking forward to the next conversation that we have, everybody. And just thank you everyone for being involved in snow biking, watching and participating, and make sure to go to the website, put your email in there to get entered into the giveaway. And we'll be announcing more about that soon. All right, guys.
All right. Thank you, Kyle.
Thanks, Kyle. Thank you.
Peace out. Thanks, guys. All right. Take care. God bless.
God bless.